Chapter 521. Xia Xiaoman's pregnancy was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but unfortunately, the timing was not right. If it was when Chu Xiaoran was at his peak, it would naturally be a joyous occasion, but now Chu Xiaoran was in dire straits. However, in Xia Xiaoman's heart, Chu Xiaoran was the kind of person who was omnipotent and could solve anything in his hands. At the end of the day, Xia Xiaoman did not have a clear understanding of Chu Xiaoran's current situation. Well, Xia Xiaoman did not need to understand these things at all. She just needed to do what she was supposed to do and serve Chu Xiaoran by communicating with him using her body. Xia Xiaoman did not need to do anything while staying by Chu Xiaoran's side. She just needed to wait for Chu Xiaoran to sleep with her. "I just want to tell you something," Xia Xiaoman said miserably. "I'll leave once I'm done. I'm pregnant." Before Xia Xiaoman could finish speaking, she was interrupted by Chu Xiaoran. "But, are you being disobedient now? I told you to go back." Xia Xiaoman burst into tears and ran out of the office while wiping her tears. She made up her mind not to tell Chu Xiaoran that she was pregnant. Chu Xiaoran's attitude just now completely hurt Xia Xiaoman. Even if she told him that she was pregnant, Chu Xiaoran would probably hurt her child. Xia Xiaoman bit her lip tightly. What should she do? The only thing she was certain of was that she had to keep the child. The miscarriage 3 years ago had already caused Xia Xiaoman to be devastated. This child was given to her by God. Although Xia Xiaoman decided to keep the child, she did not know what identity the child would be born with. She and Chu Xiaoran were not married, so the child would be born as an illegitimate child. She was already tortured by being forced to become a mistress, but her child could not bear such a terrible reputation before it was even born. The mother was a mistress, and the child was an illegitimate child. Xia Xiaoman left the office with a blank expression, not knowing what to do. Xia Xiaoman gently touched her belly, thought for a while, and took out her phone to make a call. Ning Shu was busy when he received a call from Xia Xiaoman. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Why is Xia Xiaoman calling me? I thought that she should stop contacting me after calling me a bitch last time. Why is she calling me?" Ning Shu coughed and answered the phone. The person on the other end of the phone first called out, "Brother Wenlang," and then began to cry. Ning Shu hung up the phone and blocked her. Ning Shu didn't want to care about Xia Xiaoman's affairs at all. Ning Shu was preparing to sue Chu Xiaoran and ignored Xia Xiaoman. Xia Xiaoman's life and death had nothing to do with her. She had no responsibility to take care of Xia Xiaoman and even had to be responsible for Xia Xiaoman's emotions. However, Ning Shu didn't expect that Xia Xiaoman would actually come to the law firm to look for her. When Xia Xiaoman saw Ning Shu, she started crying before she could even speak. Ning Shu's eyes were empty, as if he didn't see Xia Xiaoman. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't speak, Xia Xiaoman had no choice but to speak first. Her voice had a strong nasal sound. Ning Shu shouted, "Brother Wenlang." After calling him Brother Wenlang, she began to cry again. There were people coming and going in the law firm, and they all glanced at the crying and red-faced Xia Xiaoman. Ning Shu rubbed his eyebrows. "Don't cry, let's talk in the office." "Brother Wenlang." Xia Xiaoman saw the impatience between Ning Shu's eyebrows and felt very sad. Chu Xiaoran was fierce to her, and even Brother Wenlang was like this to her. Xia Xiaoman looked absent-minded. She didn't even know why she was living like this. She only wanted the happiness of the people she cared about, including Brother Wenlang. She endured and did everything for the sake of the people she cared about. "I said stop crying, let's talk in the office." Ning Shu repeated. Seeing Xia Xiaoman's bitter expression, he didn't know what she was thinking. Xia Xiaoman was best at making simple things very painful. This kind of continuous self-abuse made people speechless. Xia Xiaoman followed Ning Shu into the office and sat on the sofa, still wiping her tears. Ning Shu closed the door and sat opposite Xia Xiaoman. He asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "Brother Wenlang." Xia Xiaoman looked at Ning Shu, bit her lip and said, "Brother Wenlang, I'm pregnant." "I didn't do it." Ning Shu hurriedly waved his hand. Xia Xiaoman glanced at Ning Shu, wiped her tears and said, "Of course this child isn't yours. This child is Chu Xiaoran's." Ning Shu nodded. "Then why are you looking for me?" She probably had something to ask of her again. Not long ago, she was still stubbornly ignoring her. Why was she looking for her now? One wouldn't visit a temple for no reason. If Xia Xiaoman was lucky, she definitely wouldn't have thought of looking for her. At this time, Xia Xiaoman had already chosen to forget that they had fallen out previously. Brother Wenlang, Xia Xiaoman cried again. What should I do? Ningshu? Crying my ass, I'm still fucking alive. Ningshu looked coldly at the crying Xia Xiaoman. Let's see how long you can cry for. Probably because there was no one to comfort her, it was quite awkward to cry alone. Xia Xiaoman gradually stopped crying. Ningshu said, Brother Wenlang, please help me. I'm at my wit's end. Ningshu's face was still cold. Xia Xiaoman pursed her lips and said, I'm pregnant, but Chu Xiaoran doesn't seem to care about this child. My life is ruined, but I don't want my child to have such a bad reputation. So? Ningshu asked coldly. Xia Xiaoman bit her lips tightly and knelt in front of Ningshu. Brother Wenlang, I know that I'm very unbearable in your heart, but the child is innocent. The child isn't mine. Ningshu raised his eyebrows. A pregnant woman was kneeling in front of him. Ningshu was expressionless. Was she trying to use this method to make him compromise? Get to the point. I'm very busy. There are still many lawsuits waiting for me to deal with. Let's not waste each other's time, okay? Ningshu said indifferently. Get up. Why are you kneeling? You're already pregnant, but you're still kneeling. Aren't you worried that something might go wrong? Hearing that something might go wrong, Xia Xiaoman immediately got up and sat down carefully. She placed her hand on her abdomen to protect the child. Xia Xiaoman, I remember that we're already over. What do you mean by this? Ningshu was very impatient. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Xia Xiaoman's face turned pale, and she felt disappointed. Brother Wenlang had completely changed. In the past, Brother Wenlang would rush over no matter what happened to her. He was very good to her and took good care of her. She had lost Brother Wenlang, but she didn't regret it. If she could make Brother Wenlang happy and not let Brother Wenlang's career be affected by Chu Xiaoran, she could endure it. Brother Wenlang, let's get married. Xia Xiaoman said very seriously. There was a deep sadness between her eyebrows. She struggled and finally made up her mind. Let's get married. What did you say? Ningshu couldn't help but want to dig his ears. Chapter 522. Ningshu suspected that he was hallucinating. What did Xia Xiaoman say? Xia Xiaoman wanted to marry him? Ningshu's face twitched. Do you know what you're saying? Xia Xiaoman struggled and finally said, Brother Wenlang, let's get married. Ningshu, he was sure that he wasn't hallucinating. What's the reason? Why do you want to marry me? If my memory serves me right, I remember that you're Chu Xiaoran's woman and you're pregnant with his child. Why are you here to tell me that you want to marry me? Ningshu looked at Xia Xiaoman in disbelief. Xia Xiaoman's expression was unsightly as she sorrowfully said, Brother Wenlang, I know that I'm willing to be someone's mistress, but I don't want my child to bear such an unbearable reputation. Ningshu's expression was cold. Then why are you pregnant with him? Xia Xiaoman said anxiously, Brother Wenlang, don't worry. We're only in a fake marriage. I don't want the child to be an illegitimate child. Ningshu. He finally understood that she was going to be the hero who took over the child for someone else. She was going to raise someone else's child for a fake wife. Ningshu just wanted to laugh. Xia Xiaoman said that she was in a fake marriage because she wanted to maintain her innocence and let her child have a proper status. She didn't have to fulfill the obligations of a husband and wife. Damn, the supporting male lead was so miserable. There were really all kinds of strange things in the world. What was Su Wenlang after? Did he just rely on the fact that he loved her and had feelings for her for so many years? Ningshu wiped her face and curled her lips slightly. She looked at Xia Xiaoman and said, Why did I have to fake a marriage with you and occupy my household register? Also, what kind of woman can't I marry? Why did I have to marry a pregnant woman? A fake marriage? Is it because you won't let me touch you after the marriage? Xia Xiaoman was at a loss for words. Does Chu Xiaoran know that you want to marry me? Does Chu Xiaoran know about the existence of this child? Ningshu asked calmly. He wasn't angry at all, but he didn't understand why Xia Xiaoman was so self-righteous. Just because of feelings, should others naturally contribute? Xia Xiaoman shook her head. He doesn't know, but I can feel that he has no expectations for this child. He doesn't even want to see me now. Ning Shu took a deep breath, as if he had a toothache. Xia Xiaoman is really naive and sweet. What's the situation now? Chu Xiaoran is now anxious about the company's affairs and doesn't like anyone. He probably wants to kill someone. He was simply asking for a snub if he only went up to her now. Chu Xiaoran was a little fierce to her. Then, when she was pregnant, he would come over to pretend to marry her and give the child a status. Ning Shu really wanted to kneel down. She was always capable of doing something. If I really agree to the marriage, by the time everything is prepared and the invitations are sent out, Xia Xiaoman will go back on her words. Chu Xiaoran is still the person in my heart. Blah blah blah, Brother Wenlang, I can't marry you. She could have just stayed in the villa and found an opportunity to tell Chu Xiaoran about her pregnancy. This child was Chu Xiaoran's. Why did she have to make Su Wenlang take the blame and let the child take the surname Su? In the end, she didn't even have a wife and child. Could she be any more cruel? Ning Shu couldn't take it anymore. Do you want to leave by yourself, or do you want me to chase you away? Ning Shu looked at Xia Xiaoman. If it weren't for your pregnancy, I would have long beaten you up and thrown you out. Xia Xiaoman's face turned purple and she was extremely embarrassed. Brother Wenling. Ning Shu immediately reached out his hand and gestured for her to stop. He then pointed at the door. Don't speak. Just leave through the door. Don't look back. Be careful of your steps. Hurry up and leave. Xia Xiaoman bit her lips tightly. At last, Ning Shu asked, Brother Wenlang, can't you help me? I'm really at my wit's end. If I don't have a child, I won't be so thick-skinned as to beg you. Ning Shu chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart. I'm so angry, but I still have to maintain a smile. Ning Shu said word by word, I won't raise someone else's child. Brother Wenlang, I don't need you to raise the child. I'll earn money to raise the child myself. I just want the child to have an honorable identity, not an illegitimate child born from a mistress, Xia Xiaoman said sadly. Ning Shu thought, Balala energy, Fenalala, elimination technique. Disappear, disappear, quickly disappear. Make this person in front of me disappear quickly. If you want to get married, go ahead and get married to Chu Xiaoran. What's wrong with you for insisting on marrying me? Does Chu Xiaoran know that you came here with his child? Ning Shu felt that his worldview had been refreshed again. Why did Xia Xiaoman feel that Chu Xiaoran didn't like this child and wouldn't marry her? Even if I die, I won't marry you. Just give up. Ning Shu was impatient. Why should I marry you? I'm sick of seeing you now. Do I have to marry you and look at you every day? Ning Shu was so determined that Xia Xiaoman had no choice but to leave. Her back view looked lost and helpless. Ning Shu couldn't be bothered with her. To be honest, Ning Shu's heart was calm when he saw that Xia Xiaoman was unhappy. She must be drunk to be courting death like this. Due to the intervention of the authorities, T-City's economy didn't fall into chaos for long. Although it affected T-City's economic market, it was mostly under control. Ning Shu sorted out the information in his hands, then handed the lawyer's letter and the court's indictment to Chu Xiaoran. Chu Xiaoran was charged with monopolizing the market, abusing market dominance, and eliminating and malicious competition. This matter couldn't be over just like that. How could he escape after playing with fire? How could there be such a good thing? Ning Shu didn't care at all about Chu Xiaoran's expression when he received the indictment. Chu Xiaoran's company was the overlord of T-City. It was actually a family business. After Chu Xiaoran took over, it became much stronger and had deep roots in T-City. Logically speaking, such a company should be supported by the authorities, but it had already gone out of control. Even if the authorities had any instructions, he would ignore them and not listen to them at all. Moreover, he would often cause chaos in T-City's market, which was really annoying. It caused the authorities' power to expand and the market's efficiency to decrease. The decline of the Chu family was completely reasonable. It was imperative to get rid of the Chu family. Ning Shu was worried that Chu Xiaoran would transfer his assets abroad, so he suggested that the authorities check the direction of Chu Xiaoran's assets. Ning Shu didn't want to destroy Chu Xiaoran in T-City and then let Chu Xiaoran live a carefree life in another place. Since he had already made a move, he would directly suppress Chu Xiaoran and make it impossible for him to make a comeback. The authorities didn't want this big piece of meat to run away, so they definitely had to investigate. Since they wanted to investigate this matter, the Asset Management Supervision Committee had to step in and check the financial transactions of Chu Xiaoran's company. With someone watching, Chu Xiaoran wouldn't be able to transfer his assets even if he wanted to. If he was caught doing so, it would be a disaster. Chu Xiaoran would have another crime on him. Now, everyone wanted to pounce on Chu Xiaoran and take a bite out of him. Chapter 523. Ning Shu waited quietly for the court session to begin. Everything was ready. On the day of the court session, Ning Shu and Chu Xiaoran met at the entrance of the court. Chu Xiaoran had lost a lot of weight after not seeing him for a while, and even his eyes were protruding. 3 years ago, they also met at the entrance of the court. At that time, Chu Xiaoran was high and mighty and wanted to give Ning Shu a job. Now, the tables had turned, and Chu Xiaoran became the defendant, sitting opposite Ning Shu. Even though Chu Xiaoran was a little lonely now, his eyes were still arrogant and disdainful when he saw Ning Shu. He said to Ning Shu sarcastically, "You're just a lackey who grovels and begs for mercy. Do you really think you're a big shot?" Ning Shu did not take Chu Xiaoran's sarcasm to heart. Was someone like Chu Xiaoran, who went against the authorities and played with the market for his own family's interests, a big shot? Ning Shu always believed that there was no way an individual could go against the country, not to mention that Chu Xiaoran was not strong enough to leave the country. Chu Xiaoran was not as popular outside of T-City. All the land under the sky belonged to the king, and all the people on the shore were the king's subjects. Living on this land, one had to follow the rules. If a fish wanted to jump out of the water, wouldn't it be courting death? Chu Xiaoran was a big shot in T-City, and now that he was being sued, the reporters really scrambled to take photos of him. Chu Xiaoran sat at the defendant's table and looked at Ning Shu opposite him. He sneered, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Ning Shu did not seem to care, but he was vigilant in his heart. After the court session ended, the law firm had to hire more security guards. In order to be safe, Ning Shu also had to find a few skilled bodyguards for the 2 elders of the Su family. He was afraid that Chu Xiaoran would do something desperate and hurt the 2 elders of the Su family. As the plaintiff's lawyer representing the authorities, Ning Shu appealed to the judge and jury about Chu Xiaoran's crime. From the beginning to the end, Chu Xiaoran did not say a word, and his lawyer answered for him. However, the way Chu Xiaoran looked at Ning Shu became increasingly colder. Xia Xiaoman sat in the audience with a helpless look on her face. One was the person in her heart, and the other was someone she had grown up with. They were both flesh and blood, and Xia Xiaoman felt as if her heart was being torn in half. Why did they have to be so confrontational? Xia Xiaoman really couldn't figure it out. If it was because she had hurt Brother Wenlang, she was willing to atone for it. It was just that Xia Xiaoman felt very uneasy about opposing each other in such a place. Xia Xiaoman gently touched her lower abdomen. She just wanted to give her child a healthy and happy life. Why were there so many obstacles? In the courtroom, Ning Shu and Chu Xiaoran's lawyer were arguing with each other. Besides, Chu Xiaoran's crime was already set in stone. In the past, when Chu Xiaoran was in the limelight, monopolization wasn't a crime. In fact, monopolization was a compliment. However, now that he was determined to get rid of Chu Xiaoran, the crime was naturally established. The crime of monopoly was not enough to put him in jail. It was only a fine, but the amount of the fine made Chu Xiaoran's expression change. That was 3 times the profits of the monopolized products. 3 times. Chu Xiaoran had to spit out everything that he had taken. Even if Chu Xiaoran's lawyer wanted to turn the situation around, it would be impossible. The court gave Chu Xiaoran 3 months to collect the fine. Not only did Chu Xiaoran face a fine, but he also had to permanently revoke the production certificate of some products. Some of the products under Chu Xiaoran's company had already formed a mature industrial chain and were profitable industries. The revocation of the production certificate was a fatal blow to the company. Chu Xiaoran's face turned pale. Without the production certificate, no one would buy the products even if they produced them. The products that were produced illegally in the first place couldn't enter the legal market at all. Chu Xiaoran's face was full of malice, and he clenched his fists tightly while staring at Ning Shu opposite him. His eyes were full of haze and storm. Ning Shu looked at Chu Xiaoran calmly. After leaving the court, Chu Xiaoran clenched his fists and threw a punch at Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu dodged it in a flash. Chu Xiaoran looked at Ning Shu with a pale face and said, "I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have such power." Ning Shu spread his hands and said, "I don't have such power. I'm not the one who wants to deal with you. I'm just helping you." Chu Xiaoran was so angry that his face turned pale. He waved his fist at Ning Shu again. Ning Shu directly grabbed Chu Xiaoran's wrist, clenched his hand into a fist, and punched Chu Xiaoran in the stomach. Chu Xiaoran groaned and curled up in pain. Ning Shu punched Chu Xiaoran in the eye again, and Chu Xiaoran's eyes turned black at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chu Xiaoran bent over and coughed, covering his eyes with one hand. He was in great pain. Xia Xiaoman came out of the court and saw Ning Shu hitting Chu Xiaoran. She screamed and rushed over to support Chu Xiaoran. When she saw the bruises on Chu Xiaoran's face, she immediately showed a distressed expression. "Brother Wenlang, why did you hit him?" Xia Xiaoman asked Ning Shu. "I'm already very upset that you guys were fighting in court. Why did you have to do this?" Ning Shu spread his hands and said, "He hit me first." Ning Shu felt that it was meaningless to explain. He turned around, opened the car door, and drove away. Chu Xiaoran and Xia Xiaoman were surrounded by a group of reporters and couldn't get away. After the lawsuit, Ning Shu hired several security guards and set up a lot of cameras around the law firm. He also hired a few bodyguards for the house. However, these bodyguards did not appear in front of the two elders of the Su family. After the lawsuit, the media and newspapers were calculating how much fine Chu Xiaoran had to pay. A fine of 3 times the profits. The meddlesome media roughly calculated that it would be about 1 billion yuan. However, the data given by the Asset Management Supervision Committee was much more than 1 billion yuan. 1 billion yuan was not enough to reflect the huge profits generated by Chu Xiaoran's monopoly. Chu Xiaoran had to pay this fine now, even if he had to sell everything he had. Otherwise, the court would directly close down Chu Xiaoran's company. Moreover, Chu Xiaoran couldn't escape now even if he wanted to. There were police officers around him. If they found that Chu Xiaoran had any strange movements, he would be directly detained. The authorities obviously wanted to take this fat piece of meat and make Chu Xiaoran hand over the money no matter what. If they had this money, T-City would develop better. Without Chu Xiaoran's suppression, the other companies in T-City would develop, unlike before when Chu Xiaoran's company was the dominant one. "Brother Wenlang, Su Wenlang, come out." Xia Xiaoman's voice sounded outside the law firm. Ning Shu walked to the window and saw Xia Xiaoman standing at the door under the scorching sun. Xia Xiaoman was stopped by the security guards and could only shout at the door. Ning Shu sneered. "Do you think I'll go out just because you call me? Do you really think I'll come and go as I please?" He didn't know what it was this time. Anyway, Xia Xiaoman wouldn't come looking for him for anything good. Chapter 524. Xia Xiaoman came to look for Ning Shu, but Ning Shu didn't want to talk to her at all. She either wanted him to sue her or wanted him to fake a marriage with her. He found that Xia Xiaoman didn't think before she spoke, so she vented her anger on the spot. Last time, she mentioned a fake marriage, but after some time, she didn't mention it again. Xia Xiaoman saw that Ning Shu didn't appear, so she waited at the door, shouting Ning Shu's name. When she got tired of shouting, she found a shady place to hide from the sun. Anyway, she just stayed at the door and didn't leave. Ning Shu ignored her completely. "Do whatever you want." Ning Shu worked until nighttime. Seeing that Xia Xiaoman wasn't at the door, he guessed that she had left. Ning Shu shook his head. It was such a hot day, and she was a pregnant woman. Could her body take it? Ning Shu prepared to drive back. Just as he started the car, a figure suddenly rushed to the front of the car and opened her arms to block Ning Shu's car. Ning Shu's heart spasmed in fright. He quickly stepped on the brakes, and the tires screeched. Brother Wenlang. Xia Xiaoman stood not far from the front of the car and looked at Ning Shu. She put down her arms awkwardly. Ning Shu's palms were sweaty. He got out of the car and slammed the door. He walked quickly to Xia Xiaoman and raised his hand to slap her. However, he glanced at Xia Xiaoman's stomach and finally put down his hand. Xia Xiaoman was scared by Ning Shu's raised hand. She looked at Ning Shu pitifully. Brother Wenlang, are you fucking sick? Is your brain full of shit? Ning Shu was about to die from anger. If the car hadn't just started and wasn't going fast, did she think of the consequences if she hit Xia Xiaoman? Xia Xiaoman's face was also pale. She mumbled, Brother Wenlang, you don't want to see me, so I can only use this method. I took the risk because you don't want to see me. Ning Shu, what the fuck? How did it become her fault? Ning Shu glanced at Xia Xiaoman's belly and suddenly stopped being angry. Being angry with people like Xia Xiaoman was simply asking for trouble. Don't look at Xia Xiaoman's mouth, saying that she was willing to sacrifice for others and endure pain for others. However, Xia Xiaoman was actually using this as an excuse for her selfishness. She was obviously pregnant, but she completely ignored the child in her belly and made such a dangerous move. She thought about what would happen if she was really hit by a car. As a mother, she didn't think about how to protect the child in her womb. She even said that she was willing to marry a man she didn't love for the child in her womb so that the child could have a proper identity. Xia Xiaoman was indeed weak, but her weakness was even more detestable than Chu Xiaoran's scheming. Xia Xiaoman used a soft knife to stab at Su Wenlong's heart over and over again. Xia Xiaoman used Su Wenlong's feelings for her to kidnap Su Wenlang. Ning Shu hated Xia Xiaoman very much. A woman living like this, she was worse than a prostitute in a brothel. However, Xia Xiaoman was only serving one person, and her service was even labeled as true love. Ning Shu turned around and got into the car, not wanting to talk to Xia Xiaoman at all. It was just a waste of saliva, and it wouldn't make sense even if he tried to talk to her. Xia Xiaoman grabbed Ning Shu's arm. Brother Wenlang, do you really not want to say a word to me? Ning Shu pried Xia Xiaoman's hand away and got into the car. Xia Xiaoman looked sad and put her hand on the front of the car, refusing to let Ning Shu leave. Brother Wenlang, I beg you, can you listen to me? Please don't fight with Chu Xiaoran like that, I beg you. Xia Xiaoman's face was covered in tears. Ning Shu was expressionless. Why not? Chu Xiaoran has been defeated and the Chu family has collapsed. I'm happier than anyone else. Xia Xiaoman bit her lips tightly and said in a trembling voice, Brother Wenlang, are you still holding a grudge over what happened 3 years ago? It was my decision to leave you back then. If you want to hate someone, hate me. Ning Shu started the car and the engine roared. Xia Xiaoman stood in front of the car firmly. Brother Wenlang, I won't let you go. Today we must make things clear. Ning Shu was speechless. What a mess. Ning Shu said expressionlessly, if you don't want to, then go ahead. Anyway, I don't like the bastard child in your stomach. It's better if it dies. Do you think I want to see my ex-fiancée pregnant with another man's bastard child? Xia Xiaoman was horrified. She felt the engine cover under her hand trembling slightly because of the engine. Through the glass, she saw the man's cold and gloomy face. Xia Xiaoman's firm heart began to waver and she hurriedly moved aside. Ning Shu sneered and stepped on the accelerator, leaving Xia Xiaoman behind. After a while, she could no longer be seen. Ning Shu was completely convinced by Xia Xiaoman. She was quite heaven-defying to live until now without being beaten to death. Ning Shu really wanted to beat Xia Xiaoman up to vent the indescribable anger and brutality in his heart. However, when he thought of the child in Xia Xiaoman's stomach, Ning Shu still couldn't bring himself to hurt a child. Later on, he thought about it and realized that Xia Xiaoman had nothing to do with him. Being so angry would only ruin his mood. Ning Shu chanted the mind-clearing mantra in his heart as he drove. He stopped the car and waited for the green light. At this time, there was not much traffic, but there was an overweight truck on the opposite side of the road that completely ignored the traffic lights and rushed toward his car at a high speed. Ning Shu's body moved faster than his brain. He opened the door and rushed out of the car. Before he ran far, he heard a huge crash behind him. The friction and compression of metal made a sound that made one's teeth ache. Ning Shu turned around and saw that his car had been hit beyond recognition. 2 cars had crashed into the road guardrail, and the front of the truck had been smashed into pieces. The car was dripping with water. Ning Shu's hands and feet were a little weak, but he immediately walked over and checked. There was no one in the truck. Did that mean it was an empty car? Ning Shu called the police and asked them to deal with these broken cars. There was no one in the car, and the person waiting for him on his way home was coming for him. Chu Xiaoran. Ning Shu sneered and looked around. The murderer should not be far away. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the car. Ning Shu looked around. Since someone planned it, they must see the results before they give up. In the end, Ning Shu saw a man wearing a hat not far away. This man did not look very old. When he saw Ning Shu, he wanted to turn around and leave, but he calmly walked past Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly reached out and grabbed his arm. The man was shocked and wanted to break free from Ning Shu to escape. Ning Shu directly pressed him to the ground. Ning Shu also kicked him fiercely. The man was in pain and cried out. He kept shouting that he was beaten up. The police rushed over and dealt with the scene. They also brought the suspect that Ning Shu mentioned to the police station. Ning Shu also went to the police station to make a statement. What happened tonight made Ning Shu a little scared. Chapter 525. Ning Shu had always known that Chu Xiaoran was a cruel and merciless person. She had offended him previously, so it was normal for such a thing to happen. However, Ning Shu was speechless when she thought of how Xia Xiaoran had come to beg her to stop fighting with Chu Xiaoran. She and Chu Xiaoran were already incompatible like fire and water, and Chu Xiaoran even wanted her life. Xia Xiaoran did not know anything, yet she came to beg her. Why didn't Xia Xiaoran beg Chu Xiaoran instead? It was because she knew that Chu Xiaoran would not listen to her, and would even suspect that she and Su Wenlang were still together. Xia Xiaoran was not confident in front of Chu Xiaoran, but she was confident in front of Su Wenlang. Hence, she came to beg Su Wenlang. The man who was caught did not confess, saying that he was caught when he was just out for a walk, and that the police could not simply arrest people. Ning Shu was taking notes at the side. When she heard this, she sneered. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and he was still out for a walk. The police were the ones who interrogated him. The police directly stripped the man naked, leaving only his underwear, and threw him into the cold storage. Previously, the man was still very stubborn, but not long after, he was shivering from the cold and kept jumping in the cold storage to keep warm. In the end, he could not help but say that he was willing to confess. When the man came out, the police put a thin blanket over him. The man's body was shivering, and his nose was running. He confessed with chattering teeth. He said that his brother was imprisoned by Ning Shu. The man's brother was one of the gangsters who came to Ning Shu's law firm to cause trouble. Because he hated Ning Shu, he planned this accident. Ning Shu looked at these confessions and frowned. These specious confessions still did not mention the mastermind. Ning Shu reckoned that the man would not betray Chu Xiaoran. Since he had done it, he had to pay the price. He could only wait to be imprisoned for the rest of his life. Even if he could not be imprisoned, Ning Shu would let him spend the rest of his life in prison. If it were not for her quick reaction, her corpse would have been unrecognizable like the car. Her mission would have been considered a failure. When he came out of the police station, the sky was already bright. Ning Shu took a taxi back to the law firm and rested on the sofa for a while. He was really tired. Compared to Chu Xiaoran, Ning Shu knew that her strength was not as profound as Chu Xiaoran's. However, she had an advantage, which was that the person behind her was stronger than Chu Xiaoran. However, if she was useless and died, the authorities would also give up on her. Ning Shu went to the city hall and asked the authorities to thoroughly investigate Chu Xiaoran. Ning Shu's reason was that Chu Xiaoran was involved in the underworld, and Ning Shu wanted to be the bait. If they could really find out who was involved, it would be a meritorious service to the authorities if they could crack down on the underground forces. After that, Ning Shu went to Chu Xiaoran's company with some documents. This time, Ning Shu went to ask for the fine. When Chu Xiaoran saw Ning Shu, he was a little shocked. However, he immediately restrained his expression and looked at Ning Shu with a sarcastic expression. Lawyer Su, you're really dedicated to your work. I heard that you had a car accident, but you're not recuperating in the hospital. Instead, you're meddling in other people's business and demanding payment. Ning Shu clenched his fists and then released them. He said calmly, President Chu, you really pay attention to me. You found out about the car accident last night this morning. Chu Xiaoran sneered. Of course I pay attention to you. Fortunately, you're fine. Otherwise, it would be a pity. He's probably regretting that I'm fine. Ning Shu said calmly, although it's a small matter, work is more important. Although collecting payment is a matter for the court, the authorities have given me full authority. I naturally can't let the authorities down. President Chu, when can the 1 billion yuan fine be paid? When Chu Xiaoran heard the amount of 1 billion yuan, his face twitched twice and his face turned black. 1 billion yuan was not 14 yuan, and he could afford it just like that. Recently, Chu Xiaoran's situation had been very bad. In order to protect their interests, many shareholders had directly withdrawn their investments. It was impossible for these shareholders to help pay the 1 billion yuan fine. The company really didn't have much money now. Some products had their production licenses revoked and could not be produced. In that case, these workers could no longer be kept. However, the funds to dismiss these workers made Chu Xiaoran's liver ache. In the past, he was proud that his factory was the largest in T-City and had tens of thousands of workers. However, now that he had to dismiss these tens of thousands of workers, Chu Xiaoran wished that he did not have so many workers and that the large production base was empty. The money in his account was only going out and not coming in. The company had laid off many people. Previously, it was still a giant business group, but it suddenly collapsed. The Chu family had been ruined in her hands. All kinds of emotions flashed through Chu Xiaoran's heart. There was hatred, regret, and more than that, indignation. Now that he heard that Su Wenlang wanted to pay a fine, his heart was filled with resentment towards this man. Chu Xiaoran almost couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. He said coldly, "It's not the deadline yet. Lawyer Su, why are you in such a hurry?" Ning Shu smiled. "I'm not in a hurry. I'm just here to remind you to pay the fine as soon as possible. Otherwise, CEO Chu's company will be closed down." Ning Shu sat on the sofa and did not move. He picked up the coffee and took a sip. Chu Xiaoran did not want to look at Ning Shu. Seeing that he was so leisurely, he asked coldly, "Why are you still here?" Ning Shu nodded and stood up to walk to the door. He then turned around and said to Chu Xiaoran, "By the way, I haven't congratulated Xiao Chu on having a son." "Congratulations." Chu Xiaoran frowned. He did not announce Xia Xiaoman's pregnancy to the public because there were too many things to do in the company. Xia Xiaoman's pregnancy would only add to his weakness. However, how did this man know about Xia Xiaoman's pregnancy? All kinds of thoughts flashed through Chu Xiaoran's mind. He said indifferently, "Thank you, but I see that Lawyer Su's glabella is turning black. I'm afraid there will be a bloody disaster. Lawyer Su, you'd better be careful." Ning Shu was vigilant in his heart, but he said indifferently, "Thank you for your concern, Fu Chu. I'll definitely be careful." Chu Xiaoran's face trembled twice, making him look very sinister. Clearly, his recent mistakes had caused Chu Xiaoran to suffer an unprecedented blow. Chu Xiaoran, who had been going smoothly, was very dispirited. He was no longer in high spirits like before. Instead, he was in a sorry state. The domineering aura of a monarch had almost been worn away. There were many people who would help him in his hour of need, and there were also many who would kick him when he was down. Chu Xiaoran had also offended some people, especially when he was in the prime of his life. He could even decide the life and death of others with a single sentence. Chu Xiaoran was like an emperor. Naturally, he did not have any close friends, nor did he need them. What he wanted was to be revered by others. Wherever he went, he could summon the wind and summon the rain. There were probably many people who wanted to find trouble with Chu Xiaoran, especially when they wanted to trample on a high and mighty figure. Chapter 526. Ning Shu purposely went to Chu Shaoran's company to annoy him and then returned to the law firm. Ning Shu went to Chu Shaoran with a purpose. She wanted to do what a bait should do. Instead of worrying about her life every day, she might as well catch them all at once. Although it was a little dangerous, she hoped that the results would be satisfactory. In the following days, Ning Shu clearly felt that someone was following her, but these people did not take action. They just followed her and were very cautious. If not for Ning Shu's superb martial arts skills, she would not have noticed them at all. These people looked much more powerful than the hooligans she met before. Ning Shu had a signal transmitter on her. It was placed on her by the authorities. If something really happened, the police would receive the signal and rush over. Ning Shu felt that she had gone all out for this mission. She had to fight against a man with power and influence. That was how tough it was. If you want to woo Chu Shaoran, you don't have to go through so much trouble. 2333 suddenly appeared and said indifferently, "Don't they say that men conquer the world and women conquer men with their bodies? This is the advantage of women. Leave the fighting and killing to men." I'm a man now. You want me, a man, to woo Chu Shaoran? Is your system okay? I think you've been poisoned. Ning Shu wanted to kneel down to 2333. Oh, I forgot. 2333 said. Ning Shu, do you think that if I woo a man with my charm value, he will care about me? Ning Shu asked. 2333. She wanted to create a brand new life for her client. Could it be that finding a good man for her client was a successful life? Could it be that marrying a powerful man was a successful life? Maybe it was a successful life, but there was nothing happier than being free to be yourself, doing what you want to do, doing what you love, and realizing your dreams. No matter what kind of person she was, having someone by her side who could help her in times of need was love. Ning Shu wanted to go on in the thousands of planes. Feelings were not important to Ning Shu. They were more of a tie. If she wanted someone to accompany her, Ning Shu hoped that it would be when she could control her own destiny. Ning Shu's goal now was to live. To live, a person's heart was too heavy. Ning Shu had nothing to exchange for her heart. If she gave her heart away, how could she go to the thousands of planes freely? If his life wasn't his and his heart wasn't his, then what else did he have? Ning Shu avoided having feelings for the people in the mission. Of course, others did not like her. This was a rather sad topic. You're so stubborn. 2333 laughed at Ning Shu and then went silent. Ning Shu felt that Chu Shaoran's underground power should be quite big when she sensed that he was peeping at her like a shadow. Therefore, not only did he have to attack Chu Shaoran's strength on the surface, but he also had to remove Chu Shaoran's underworld forces. Chu Shaoran's strength was not small. He was simply blessed by nature and favored by the heavens. Ning Shu drove and looked at the people following behind through the rearview mirror. Ning Shu thought for a while and drove to a remote place. In the end, he was blocked by several cars. Ning Shu, who was in the car, pressed the button on his watch and sent out a signal. The window of a car rolled down, revealing a face that Ning Shu was very familiar with. Chu Shaoran turned to look at Ning Shu. "Lawyer Su, we meet again?" Ning Shu secretly pressed the button on his watch several times and said, "President Chu?" Ning Shu looked around and said faintly, "It's fate to meet in such a desolate place." Chu Shaoran turned to look at Ning Shu and smiled at him. "It's not a coincidence at all. I came here especially for you." Ning Shu pressed the button on his watch again and looked at the burly men around him. These men were covered in blood and had a murderous aura. It was obvious that they had taken lives. Ning Shu's heart sank. Previously, when he looked at Chu Shaoran's company, he felt that it was going to collapse. However, now that he saw Chu Shaoran's subordinates, Ning Shu suspected that Chu Shaoran wanted to go from the light to the dark and only manage his underworld forces. This was not what Ning Shu wanted to see. He was afraid that Chu Shaoran would develop in a gray area without the constraints of the law on the surface. He would only be more successful. Ning Shu kept pressing the watch on his wrist, but he did not dare to be too obvious. He said to Chu Shaoran, "Then, President Chu, why are you looking for me? I'm afraid of such a big scene." Chu Shaoran smiled evilly. Lawyer Sue, you also know how to be afraid. I thought that Lawyer Sue was not afraid of anything. I didn't see you being afraid when you were standing at the plaintiff's table. Chu Xiaoren waved his hand, and the burly men around him surrounded him. A man reached out and wanted to open the car door, but the door was locked by Ning Shu. Open the door. The man smashed the car window and reached his hand in, wanting to open the car door. However, Ning Shu punched the man's nose with all his might, causing blood to splatter from the man's nose. He fell to the ground and fainted. Chu Xiaoren looked at the man who fainted on the ground, then glanced at Ning Shu. With a cold and cruel expression, he said, "Catch her. I'll deal with her myself." Ning Shu originally wanted to drive away, but his car was blocked from all sides and couldn't be driven away at all. Ning Shu was pulled out of the car by a few burly men. Chu Xiaoren got out of the car. His black leather shoes were shiny, and when he stepped on the yellow sand, he was tall and handsome, giving off the vibe of a dark emperor. Ning Shu kicked the man who was pulling his arm in the crotch. The man groaned in pain, bent his body and clamped his leg, and rolled his eyes in pain. Chu Xiaoren's face darkened, and several burly men surrounded Ning Shu. Ning Shu was a little anxious. She had already sent out the signal, but why was there no response? Could it be that this place was too remote, and the signal was not good? Looking at these burly men surrounding him, Ning Shu didn't intend to fight them head-on. He just wanted to break out of the encirclement and run away as soon as possible. Ning Shu's body tensed up. He chose a direction to break out of the encirclement and fought with these men. These burly men were ruthless, but Ning Shu wasn't bad either. He had been practicing peerless martial arts ever since he came to this world. Although he didn't cultivate Qijin, his physical fitness was very good. Ning Shu pulled up his trousers. Ning Shu tied a dagger under his trousers. Facing these men who rushed up, Ning Shu directly stabbed at the vital parts of the men. Anyway, it was either he or she who died. Ning Shu injured a few men. He raised the dagger and was about to stab it into the burly man's throat, but he felt something cold against his head. Ning Shu rolled her eyes and saw Chu Xiaoren holding a gun in his hand and pressing it against her temple. Ning Shu's heart trembled. Chu Xiaoren actually has a gun. Chapter 527. Ning Shu originally thought that Chu Xiaoren had some underground forces, but now that he saw the gun in Chu Xiaoren's hand, Ning Shu's heart sank. It seemed that he had to re-evaluate Chu Xiaoren's power. With a gun in his hand, he was no longer an ordinary gangster. Because there was a gun pointed at him, Ning Shu did not dare to act rashly. The dagger in his hand was also taken away and he could not move. Chu Xiaoren did not say anything and first punched Ning Shu's stomach. Ning Shu suddenly felt a pain in his stomach. "Secretary Su, aren't you good at fighting?" Chu Xiaoren said coldly. Chu Xiaoren still hated Ning Shu for hitting him at the entrance of the court. Ning Shu was in so much pain that he took a deep breath. He looked like he was in extreme pain. "Drag him into the car." Chu Xiaoren looked at Ning Shu's evil expression. He was probably thinking about how to torture Ning Shu to death. At this moment, the sound of police sirens came. In the blink of an eye, the police cars were getting closer and closer. Chu Xiaoren looked a little stunned. He glanced at Ning Shu and raised his gun, wanting to shoot Ning Shu to death. Ning Shu dragged the two people who were on top of him and threw one of them towards Chu Xiaoren at the risk of losing one of his arms. The person who was thrown out by Ning Shu was shot dead by Chu Xiaoren, but Chu Xiaoren was pressed down by the corpse. The police came over. Chu Xiaoren pushed away the corpse on top of him, raised his arm to cover his face, and got into the car. After getting into the car, he fired a shot at Ning Shu. Ning Shu lay on the ground, but the bullet still grazed his shoulder. It was burning, but the blood could not stop flowing. His whole body was cold. Ning Shu looked at the license plate number of Chu Xiaoren's car. When the police came, Ning Shu quickly said, "The license plate number is T5348. The police car chased after Chu Xiaoren. Ning Shu was too tired and injured, so he was sent to the hospital and fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up again, Ning Shu felt that his body had fallen apart. One of his hands could not move at all, and the wound on his shoulder had been bandaged. "Son, you're awake." When Mother Su came in and saw that Ning Shu had woken up, her eyes turned red. "You're finally awake. You scared your father and me. We only have one son. What are we going to do if something happens to you?" Catching criminals is the job of the police. You're just a normal citizen, yet you're doing something so dangerous. Have you ever thought about your parents? Mother Su's voice was shaking as she spoke. Ning Shu knew that Mother Su was worried about him, so he quickly promised that there would be no next time. The authorities also came to visit Ning Shu. They even gave Ning Shu a banner of the people's hero. Then, the half-crippled Ning Shu had to sit up and use his mobile hand to hold the banner and take a photo with the authorities. He had an expression that said, "I'm honored, I'm proud, I should do this." When the authorities and reporters left, Ning Shu immediately said to Mother Su, "Mom, help me to sleep. Damn it, my whole body hurts." Looking at the cheap banner, Ning Shu's body hurt even more. "I can give you a banner, but you should at least give me something practical." However, Ning Shu learned that Chu Xiaoran was eventually stopped by police cars, just like how they stopped Ning Shu previously. Ning Shu felt very happy. Chu Xiaoran was temporarily detained, and the authorities quickly raided Chu Xiaoran's lair. Chu Xiaoran was an underground gambling den and a loan shark. The interest was compounded with the profits from the gambling den, and he used Chu Xiaoran's company to launder money. When the authorities came to visit Ning Shu, they were all smiles because this was another large sum of money. The more money there was, the better T-City would be able to develop. Ning Shu told the authorities that they must confiscate Chu Xiaoran's assets, and the authorities said that they would not even let go of a lackey. Only then did Ning Shu feel relieved. Even if he saw the cheap banner, his liver did not hurt as much. Ning Shu was hospitalized. The ligament in one of her arms was severely strained and dislocated. It was estimated that this arm would not have much strength for a year and a half. However, Ning Shu felt that it was worth it to pay such a price in exchange for Chu Xiaoran's imprisonment. Ning Shu was discharged from the hospital after resting for half a month. Chu Xiaoran's case was not tried, and the authorities released Chu Xiaoran instead. However, Chu Xiaoran's underground forces had been completely removed. Ning Shu felt very uncomfortable. If Chu Xiaoran was charged with being involved in the underworld, he would not be able to make a comeback for the rest of his life. After the authorities released Chu Xiaoran, they urged Chu Xiaoran to pay a fine of 1 billion yuan every day. Now, Chu Xiaoran no longer had the courage to throw a tantrum with the authorities. In the end, he collected 1 billion yuan in savings. As soon as Chu Xiaoran paid the fine, he was immediately detained. After a period of time, when there was enough evidence, Chu Xiaoran would be charged with being involved in the underworld. Ning Shu was speechless. He was really speechless. They released him so that Chu Xiaoran could collect enough money to pay the fine. After he paid the fine, they immediately arrested him again. It felt like Chu Xiaoran had been played to a pulp. Ning Shu immediately felt at ease and hung the banner of the people's hero in the most conspicuous place in the law firm. Without Chu Xiaoran, who was a ticking time bomb, Ning Shu felt more comfortable all over. He had never felt so relaxed before. However, some people just did not want Ning Shu to feel comfortable. Xia Xiaoman came again and howled at the entrance of the law firm. She screamed at the top of her lungs, calling Su Wenlang, come out. Now, she did not even call him Brother Wenlang and just called him Su Wenlang. Ning Shu plugged in his earphones and listened to music, ignoring Xia Xiaoman who was screaming. However, Xia Xiaoman directly knelt at the door with the sun above her head. Her body was on the verge of collapsing. Others wanted to help her up, but Xia Xiaoman glared at them fiercely, as if the person who wanted to help her was her enemy. Ning Shu pulled open the curtains and took a look. Xia Xiaoman's face was pale, her back was very straight, and she was wearing loose clothes. Ning Shu shook his head. It was one thing for her to humiliate herself, but she completely ignored the child in her womb. Xia Xiaoman fainted outside because of the sun. Ning Shu had no choice but to get someone to bring her in. The staff of the law firm fanned her while pinching her philtrum. Ning Shu saw that her eyelashes kept trembling and knew that Xia Xiaoman was pretending to be unconscious. Xia Xiaoman slowly woke up. She rolled her eyes and finally fixed them on Ning Shu. She stood up from the sofa, her lips trembling, and her expression was blank and flustered. She questioned, "Why did you do this?" Ning Shu was speechless. He was so confused. He had no idea what she was talking about. "Why did you do this? What good will it do you if Chu Xiaoran goes to jail? Why did you do this?" Xia Xiaoman felt that the person in front of her was very unfamiliar. This was not the Brother Wenlang in her memory. Brother Wenlang would not be so cold and heartless. Ning Shu was speechless. Why is it so tiring to talk to her? Does she not know the reason at all? Haven't you always wanted to leave Chu Xiaoran? I'm helping you. Ning Shu spread his hands expressionlessly and said, "Didn't you say that you hate Chu Xiaoran? Didn't you say that Chu Xiaoran played you? You should be happy that Chu Xiaoran is like this." Chapter 528. Now that Chu Xiaoran was in such a state, Xia Xiaoman could totally take the opportunity to get rid of him. However, Xia Xiaoman didn't do that. Previously, she was gnashing her teeth in hatred, but now that Chu Xiaoran was in dire straits, Xia Xiaoman's heart softened. "Brother Wenlang, I understand what you're saying. Although Chu Xiaoran forced himself on me and toyed with me in the beginning, he's still the father of the child in my stomach," Xia Xiaoman said to Ning Shu. "Brother Wenlang, I beg you to let Chu Xiaoran off." Ning Shu rubbed the corners of his eyes and looked at Xia Xiaoman as if he was looking at an idiot. Would he let Chu Xiaoran off just because she said so? Ning Shu was very curious about what kind of life Xia Xiaoman was living every day. He really didn't understand anything about the human world. Why did he feel that Xia Xiaoman was living a completely isolated life? All she had to do was lie in bed and serve Chu Xiaoran. "You want to save Chu Xiaoran?" Ning Shu asked in disbelief. This was the first time Ning Shu had seen someone like Xia Xiaoman. He didn't know how to describe Xia Xiaoman. She wasn't a wicked person and was even a little kind. However, she didn't seem to have a brain. Everything she did brought disaster to others, and she did it out of kindness. Xia Xiaoman was an idiot. Xia Xiaoman said firmly, "Brother Wenlang, as long as I can save Chu Xiaoran, I'm willing to do anything." Ning Shu's body trembled. Damn it, here she is again. She's willing to give up everything for the sake of her loved one. It's the same as when she endured humiliation and became Su Wenlong's mistress in order to protect the reputation of the Su and Xia families and Su Wenlong's career. Give up everything? Ning Shu looked at Xia Xiaoman's tragic expression that looked like she was about to jump off a cliff. She was speechless. Xia Xiaoman nodded. "Yes, I'm willing to give up everything. This matter happened because of me. Brother Wenlang, I know I've let you down. If you can save Chu Xiaoran, I promise you that I won't be with her anymore. Then, let's leave this place." Ning Shu hammered his chest, saying that Xia Xiaoman had given up on Chu Xiaoran in order to save him. Xia Xiaoman and he would leave this place and return a few years later. Chu Xiaoran and Xia Xiaoman would meet again, and Chu Xiaoran would feel that Xia Xiaoman had betrayed him. Xia Xiaoman would be unable to voice her bitterness, and the two of them would start a torturous relationship again. Damn it, she was still a pitiful supporting male character. For the sake of the plot, she would not touch Xia Xiaoman for the next few years. She would also raise Xia Xiaoman's child. Ning Shu hammered his chest again. Looking at Xia Xiaoman's expression, which seemed to be ready to die, Ning Shu waved his hand and said, "If you want to be with Chu Xiaoran, then go ahead. Don't drag me into this." "Xia Xiaoman, when will you understand that we are already over? If you come looking for me again, I will kill Chu Xiaoran." Xia Xiaoman widened her eyes and looked at Ning Shu with tears in her almond-shaped eyes. "Brother Wenlang, as long as you save Chu Xiaoran, I'll never look for you again. Get lost." Xia Xiaoman's face turned pale and she looked sad. Obviously, she was sad because of Ning Shu's coldness. As soon as Xia Xiaoman left, Ning Shu took a deep breath. Xia Xiaoman had refreshed his worldview. Xia Xiaoman always had a mysterious confidence when facing him. "Leave this place? It's easy to say that you want me to give up my career and go with you. Where's my brain?" Xia Xiaoman simply thought of one thing after another. Her mind was unbelievably simple. Chu Xiaoran had been detained and his company had completely collapsed. All the company's resources had been divided up by other companies. The large-scale production base had been auctioned off by the authorities, and the money naturally flowed into the government's pockets. In short, Chu Xiaoran's matter this time had helped the authorities remove the thorn in their side. They also reaped the benefits of not collecting money, and their finances were not so difficult. The miscellaneous items added up to nearly 10 billion yuan, which showed that Chu Xiaoran's net worth was not low. Chu Xiaoran, who had been detained, probably did not know that he had lost everything and had been robbed clean by the authorities. 10 billion yuan could support the development of 1 or 2 large-scale construction projects in T-City, such as road construction and the construction of basic urban facilities. Meanwhile, Xia Xiaoman was waiting foolishly for Ning Shu to rescue Chu Xiaoran, but she did not dare to look for Ning Shu. She was afraid that Ning Shu would really kill Chu Xiaoran. Now, Xia Xiaoman was somewhat afraid of Ning Shu. She stayed in the villa every day and was simply like a rock waiting for her husband. When Xia Xiaoman's mother found out about this matter, she persuaded Xia Xiaoman to give up on Chu Xiaoran. Chu Xiaoran was now a reformed-through labor prisoner and was no longer the powerful CEO Chu. Moreover, this man had forced himself on her daughter back then. Now that such a thing had happened, Xia Xiaoman's mother felt that her daughter could get rid of Chu Xiaoran and start a new life, no longer being bullied by that man. However, the child in her stomach was a problem. Xia Xiaoman's mother struggled for a while and asked Xia Xiaoman to get an abortion. Xia Xiaoman was not married yet. If she kept the child, it would be an unmarried child. Moreover, the child's father was a reformed-through labor prisoner. Would the child be happy after being born? Xia Xiaoman's mother was also considering the reality. It was better to have a short pain than a long pain. Xia Xiaoman could still start a new life. However, if she kept the child in her stomach, Xia Xiaoman's life would be more painful and tortuous. When Xia Xiaoman heard her mother asking her to get an abortion, she clutched her stomach in horror. She was so shocked that her voice changed. "Mom, what are you saying? You want me to abort this child? This is my child. He's your grandson. This is a life. How can you be so cruel?" Xia Xiaoman's mother did not speak for a long time. When she heard her daughter's words, she did not know what to say. After a while, she said, "You can choose not to abort the child. Let's leave this place and move to another place. Your father and I will take care of this child. Don't have anything to do with Chu Xiaoran anymore." Xia Xiaoman shook her head and said, "Mom, I won't leave Chu Xiaoran. He's only in dire straits now. Moreover, he's the child's father. I have him in my heart." "What are you saying? Are you going to wait for Chu Xiaoran to come back? He treated you so badly in the past and forced you to break up with Su Wenlang. If it weren't for Chu Xiaoran, you would have already married Su Wenlang and had a child. Isn't the child a bastard? Now you're saying that you love Chu Xiaoran. Xia Xiaoman, are you trying to drive me and your father to death? You must leave with us. You can keep the child, but you can't see Chu Xiaoran anymore." Xia Xiaoman's mother said and went to the bedroom to pack Xia Xiaoman's things. Obviously, she wanted to take Xia Xiaoman away. Seeing her mother's tough attitude, Xia Xiaoman knelt in front of her and sobbed. "Mom, Chu Xiaoran and I are truly in love. Please give us your blessings. No matter what Chu Xiaoran is like now, I still love him in my heart. Even if I leave Chu Xiaoran, I won't marry another man," Xia Xiaoman said firmly. Chapter 529. Xia Xiaoman's mother didn't expect her daughter to be so stubborn as to insist on being with Chu Xiaoran. She really wanted to beat her to death. Xia Xiaoman's mother didn't think that Chu Xiaoran loved her daughter. If he really loved her, why didn't he get married after so many years? However, Xia Xiaoman was determined to be with Chu Xiaoran. Everything she did was out of consideration for Xia Xiaoman's future. Xia Xiaoman still had a long life ahead of her, but her daughter didn't appreciate it. Xia Xiaoman's mother was angry and anxious. She said fiercely, "If you really want to be with Chu Xiaoran, I'll take it that I've never given birth to you. Don't you have any shame? Because of you, your father and I have been treated with disdain whenever we go out. They're all laughing at us openly and secretly. The Xia family has been completely disgraced." Xia Xiaoman cried sadly and repeatedly said, "Mom, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. But I can't leave Chu Xiaoran. The child in my stomach belongs to Chu Xiaoran. Xia Xiaoman's mother looked at her daughter and asked, "You mean you want to be with Chu Xiaoran?" Xia Xiaoman nodded while sobbing. Xia Xiaoman's mother was so angry that she threw the clothes in her hand and the suitcase on the ground. "I'll take it that I've never given birth to you." Xia Xiaoman kowtowed a few times to her mother's back and fell to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. Later, the Xia family really moved. Before they left, Xia Xiaoman's mother gave Xia Xiaoman a sum of money and told her to behave herself. Over the years, the Xia family suffered a lot of rumors and slanders because of Xia Xiaoman. Xia Xiaoman's father was a teacher and was a very upright person. However, because of Xia Xiaoman, he couldn't stand up straight in front of his students. Some students would even cover their mouths and laugh when they saw Xia Xiaoman's father, saying behind his back that teacher Xia's daughter was someone else's mistress. The main reason was that Chu Xiaoran was a well-known figure in T-City. Xia Xiaoman's father lost a lot of his confidence and felt that he had lost his morals. He didn't have the confidence to discipline his students. Occasionally, his students would even disobey him and say that Xia Xiaoman was his mistress in front of him, causing him to burst into laughter. Xia Xiaoman's father was about to retire, but in the end he couldn't take it anymore and applied for a transfer to a more remote school with poor conditions. He had really given up on Xia Xiaoman. This daughter of his could do whatever she wanted. If she wanted to be with Chu Xiaoran, so be it. When Ning Shu learned that the Xia family had moved and left Xia Xiaoman alone in T-City, he was stunned for a moment before he understood that Xia Xiaoman had been abandoned by the Xia family. Is Xia Xiaoman waiting for Chu Xiaoran to come out? This was true love that would never leave. Ning Shu sighed inwardly at Xia Xiaoman's deep love for Chu Xiaoran. The trial of Chu Xiaoran's case began. As Ning Shu was injured all over, he did not appear in court in person. Chu Xiaoran managed to find a defense lawyer through some unknown means and reduced his sentence from 3 years to 1 year. In other words, Chu Xiaoran had to go to jail for a year because of his involvement in the underworld. This punishment was actually considered light. It was possible that he would not be punished. Xia Xiaoman's face turned pale when she heard the verdict. She looked at Ning Shu, clearly dissatisfied with the verdict. Ning Shu did not pay any attention to her. In fact, Chu Xiaoran himself was quite satisfied with the verdict. After a year, he would be able to make a comeback. Chu Xiaoran, who was in the defendant's seat, glanced at the worried Xia Xiaoman from the corner of his eye and felt a warmth in his heart. However, when he saw Ning Shu, his face immediately turned sullen. He immediately imagined that Xia Xiaoman had gotten together with Su Wenlang because she saw that he was in dire straits. The more he thought about it, the more sullen his face became. Besides, Xia Xiaoman was pregnant with his child. Xia Xiaoman did not know what Chu Xiaoran was thinking. She was full of worry for him and her heart ached for him. After the trial ended, Chu Xiaoran was escorted to the detention center. Ning Shu walked out of the courthouse with a smile on her face. Torturing a person, destroying his life, destroying his beliefs, and trampling on his dignity. She had to watch as his hope was shattered, and she had to watch as the person she hated looked down on her from a high position. Xia Xiaoman caught up with Ning Shu. Ning Shu asked, "Brother Wenlang, why did Chu Xiaoran have to go to jail for another year?" Ning Shu glanced at Xia Xiaoman's belly, which was already slightly protruding. Xia Xiaoman's body was delicate, and she had probably been worried about a lot of things recently. She had lost weight and her belly looked a little big. Ning Shu said calmly, "He should have been sentenced to more than 3 years, but now he only has 1 year. I was the one who secretly found Chu Xiaoran's defense lawyer. If you're still not satisfied with this, I can't do anything about it. Brother Wenlang, don't be angry. I don't mean anything else." Xia Xiaoman hurriedly said, "Brother Wenlang, thank you. Don't come looking for me in the future. If you do, Chu Xiaoran will be in trouble." Ning Shu's face was cold. Xia Xiaoman's face turned bitter. She suddenly felt that the world was so big, but she had no one to rely on. Her parents had left this place, and Xia Xiaoman didn't even know where they went. It was as if they had completely disappeared from her world. Brother Wenlang was no longer the person who had been with her since she was a child. Lonely and fearful, Xia Xiaoman felt very panicked and fearful of the unknown life. Xia Xiaoman had never lived independently for a day. Ning Shu began to work without any distractions. The reputation of the law firm slowly rose, not only in T-City, but also in the surrounding cities. This was the intention of the authorities. They wanted to establish a good image that could even represent the image of T-City. Ning Shu was the one who was pushed to the front. Ning Shu organized the cases that were free of charge into a book. Ning Shu really didn't receive a single cent from these cases. Moreover, the background of each family was clearly investigated. Ning Shu didn't want some people to fish in troubled waters. In a year, Ning Shu was also a lawyer appointed by the government. He went to various towns and villages to disseminate legal knowledge. He went to many places, walked into the mountains, and went to the Jiangnan River. He saw all kinds of environments and helped some people along the way. When Xia Xiaoman gave birth, Ning Shu returned to T-City. Xia Xiaoman was in labor pain for a day and a night before she gave birth to a son. Chu Xiaoran still had 4 months to go before he could be released from prison. He couldn't even see the birth of his child. During the period of Xia Xiaoman's pregnancy, she stayed in the villa that Chu Xiaoran used to hide his mistress. She was alone and hired hourly workers to clean the house. The money she used was given by Mother Xia in advance. If she was short on money, Xia Xiaoman would sell the jewelry and branded bags that Chu Xiaoran gave her previously. Of course, the price was only 1/10 of the original price. Xia Xiaoman was unwilling to do so at first, but under the pressure of survival, she could only sell the things cheaply. She cherished these things very much because they were given to her by Chu Xiaoran. In order to support herself, she could only sell them. When Xia Xiaoman felt aggrieved, she thought of Chu Xiaoran and forced herself to endure. Chapter 530. Xia Xiaoman had given birth to the child, but she had no idea how to take care of him. Facing the wailing child, Xia Xiaoman was at a loss and didn't know what to do. She didn't know if the child was feeling unwell or if he was hungry or peed. Her heart ached when the child cried, and there were too many emotions in her heart. Xia Xiaoman hugged the child and cried too. The empty villa was filled with the child's heart-wrenching cries. Xia Xiaoman hadn't experienced any major events in her life. The Xia family was considered a well-off family. Xia Xiaoman grew up being pampered by the heavens and the earth, and she also had Su Wenlang, her next-door brother. Everything was in front of her. She had yet to step out of society and was polished by society, but Chu Xiaoran had already snatched her away. Even if Chu Xiaoran treated her badly, Xia Xiaoran had never considered her survival and was always entangled in inexplicable matters. Now, the pressure of survival was on her, and she had to raise a child. Without anyone to rely on, Xia Xiaoman felt as if her heart was in a pot of oil. Xia Xiaoman carried the child to the law firm to look for Ning Shu. In T-City, Xia Xiaoman could only think of Ning Shu. Only brother Wenlang, whom she had known for more than 10 years, could help her. However, when she arrived at the law firm, she was told that Ning Shu wasn't around. Ning Shu stood in front of the window upstairs and saw Xia Xiaoman standing at the door with the child in her arms. Xia Xiaoman had lost a lot of weight and her face was pale. A gust of wind could blow her away. Ning Shu saw Xia Xiaoman's complexion and knew that she was weak. After giving birth to the child, she didn't take good care of herself and hurt her body. It was fine when she was young, but when she grew old, she would be sick. No one else could ruin themselves like this. Xia Xiaoman had no choice but to go back. In the end, an older female employee of the law firm couldn't stand it anymore and suggested to Xia Xiaoman to hire a confinement nanny who could take care of the child. Xia Xiaoman was delighted to hear that someone could help take care of the child, but then her heart turned cold. It would definitely cost a lot of money to hire a confinement nanny, and she didn't have that much money. Xia Xiaoman didn't expect that she would have to worry about money one day. In her previous life, she didn't even have the concept of money. Now, she had to make plans for money and was conflicted for a long time. Thinking of her child, Xia Xiaoman finally gritted her teeth and hired a confinement nanny. However, she was even more nervous now. Xia Xiaoman was thinking about what other things she could sell. With the help of the confinement nanny, Xia Xiaoman could finally take a breather. Then, she stayed in front of the calendar every day and counted the days, waiting for the day that Chu Xiaoran would be released from prison. Ning Shu was also waiting for the day when Chu Xiaoran would be released from prison. What was the point of staying in prison? There were people guarding him 24 hours a day. There was food and drink. When he was bored, there was a group of people to play with him and pick up soap. On the day that Chu Xiaoran was released from prison, Ning Shu drove to the prison gate. When he arrived, Xia Xiaoman was already waiting at the gate. Today, Xia Xiaoman even dressed up. She was wearing a white dress, but she was too thin and didn't look as good as before. There was a lingering tiredness on her body. Ning Shu stayed in the car and didn't get out. He watched as people came out of the prison gate one after another. Chu Xiaoran also came out. Xia Xiaoman covered her mouth and burst into tears. She then threw herself into Chu Xiaoran's arms. Ning Shu looked at Chu Xiaoran. This was completely different from the Chu Xiaoran in his memory. The current Chu Xiaoran had completely lost his noble and proud temperament. Without countless halos, Chu Xiaoran was just an ordinary man. In fact, he couldn't even compare to an ordinary man. Now that Chu Xiaoran had nothing and even had a criminal record, it would be difficult for him to step out of society. However, Ning Shu saw that Chu Xiaoran seemed to be very confident. Ning Shu pursed his lips. Does he still think that he can get up? Even if Chu Xiaoran wanted to get up, Ning Shu wouldn't give him the chance. After glancing at the two people who had successfully joined forces, Ning Shu drove away. In front of the prison gate, Chu Xiaoran and Xia Xiaoman were still hugging each other. Xia Xiaoman felt at ease when she hugged Chu Xiaoran's waist. She felt that she had someone to rely on and was no longer afraid of anything. On the way back to the villa, Xia Xiaoman told Chu Xiaoran about what had happened in the past year. Chu Xiaoran was a little moved. He didn't expect Xia Xiaoman to give up on leaving with her family and stay behind to wait for him. Chu Xiaoran hugged Xia Xiaoman and said, "Let's get married." Xia Xiaoman was very surprised. She smiled and nodded with tears in her eyes. Although there were no flowers or diamond rings, Xia Xiaoman didn't care about these things. She only felt the joy and happiness of being able to stay with her beloved and her child. They would be a happy family. After returning to the villa, Chu Xiaoran hugged his son. His heart was full of hope. With his ability, he would soon return to his peak and give Xia Xiaoman and their child a happy life. If Chu Xiaoran wanted to make a comeback, he needed capital. However, Chu Xiaoran's assets had all been confiscated by the authorities. Chu Xiaoran decided to sell the villa. When he first bought the villa, it cost nearly 10 million yuan. At that time, 10 million yuan was nothing to Chu Xiaoran, but now, it was the only capital he had. It was the capital he needed to make a comeback. After the villa was sold, Chu Xiaoran and Xia Xiaoman moved into an ordinary house in the community and lived a life without a house. Moreover, the confinement nanny who took care of the child was also dismissed. Hence, the responsibility of taking care of the child fell on Xia Xiaoman's shoulders. Chu Xiaoran took the money from selling the villa and went out to look for business opportunities. However, he usually didn't gain anything after a day. When Chu Xiaoran returned home, he didn't even have a hot meal to eat. Without the confinement nanny by her side, Xia Xiaoman found it very difficult to take care of the child. When Chu Xiaoran returned, she asked Xia Xiaoman to take care of the child and then went to cook for him. In the past, Xia Xiaoman didn't do any household chores. Hence, one could imagine how good the food she cooked was. Chu Xiaoran ate 2 mouthfuls and stopped eating. He ate something that was either noodles or paste. Living in a cramped house, Chu Xiaoran's heart was filled with anger. When he slept at night, the child would constantly cry, causing Chu Xiaoran to feel extremely vexed. Crying, wailing. Chu Xiaoran got up from the bed and went to the balcony to smoke. Frightened by Chu Xiaoran's voice, the child in the cradle cried even more ferociously. Xia Xiaoman's heart trembled when she saw that Chu Xiaoran was angry. She hurriedly hugged the child in her arms and coaxed him. Even though Chu Xiaoran was now in dire straits, Xia Xiaoman still gave in to him unconditionally because of the power he had accumulated over a long time. Chu Xiaoran was very anxious. He was eager to prove himself and stand up again. In the past, Things that were easy in his eyes were now extremely difficult. He was chased out before he could even speak. The embarrassment and anger made Chu Xiaoran want to kill someone. The more it was like this, the more Chu Xiaoran wanted to return to the past and make these people who looked down on him regret and feel uneasy. Chapter 5:31. Ning Shu had been paying attention to Chu Xiaoran. He knew that Chu Xiaoran had sold his only villa and was preparing to start afresh with the money. Ning Shu could only say that he was a little naive. Chu Xiaoran was registered in front of the authorities. Basically, no one in T-City dared to cooperate with Chu Xiaoran. Even if they wanted to cooperate, what capital did Chu Xiaoran have? Now that Chu Xiaoran was no longer a business giant, other companies were scrambling to cooperate with him. Tea cools down when people leave. That was the reality. However, Chu Xiaoran was tenacious and seemed to be determined to succeed. Ning Shu felt that Chu Xiaoran could jump up and down because he had money in his hands. Without this money, he probably wouldn't be able to jump up and down. However, before Ning Shu could make a move, the person Ning Shu sent to monitor Chu Xiaoran told Ning Shu that Chu Xiaoran had already found a business partner. So fast. Ning Shu was a little surprised. Could it be that Chu Xiaoran was going to rise? However, news soon came that there was a new energy development project. It seemed to be very promising, and the company that cooperated with Chu Xiaoran was also very legitimate. Ning Shu sent someone to investigate, only to find that it was just a shell company. Even the office was rented and only had the name of the company hanging on it. It seemed that they were eyeing the money in Chu Xiaoran's hands. Moreover, the plan was very thorough. It seemed that Chu Xiaoran had already taken the bait. Both parties had already signed the contract, and Chu Xiaoran had invested half of his money. Ning Shu just watched without saying anything. He didn't think of reminding Chu Xiaoran. Chu Xiaoran must have gone out to look for business opportunities and let slip that he had money. Then, the swindler came up with such a plan. Chu Xiaoran had only invested half of his money. The swindler would think of ways to take all his money. Chu Xiaoran was a businessman, but ever since he was released from prison he had been in a very irritable state, causing him to lose his basic calmness and rationality. In addition, the swindler did things very formally and considered all aspects. One could find this company on the internet. Moreover, it was registered with the Industry and Commerce Bureau. Only then did Chu Xiaoran agree to cooperate. Ning Shu watched from the side, as if he was watching a big show. She naturally contributed to Chu Xiaoran's difficult situation after he was released from prison. With her current social status, it was simply too easy for her to make things difficult for Chu Xiaoran. Now, the situation between her and Chu Xiaoran was completely reversed. She watched coldly as Chu Xiaoran struggled bitterly. The high and mighty Chu Xiaoran would never have thought that he would have such a day. Very soon, the swindler informed Chu Xiaoran that he did not have enough funds and wanted to stop the project. The money that Chu Xiaoran had invested previously would be wasted. Chu Xiaoran gritted his teeth and invested all the money he had. However, the next day, Chu Xiaoran was faced with an empty company. The technical staff had also disappeared. Not a single one of them was left. Chu Xiaoran immediately realized that he had been deceived. At this moment, Chu Xiaoran's body went limp, as if his soul was about to leave his body. This sum of money was all Chu Xiaoran's hope, but now he had nothing left. In fact, he could not even guarantee his future life. The family of 3 could only wait for dinner. Chu Xiaoran was too greedy. He wanted to make a fortune with the money he had and was eager to make a comeback. At that time, he had only invested half of the money. If he could stop the losses immediately, he would still have at least half of the money in his hands. Now, Chu Xiaoran could be said to be completely disheartened. In fact, he even wanted to die in an instant. However, when he really stood on a tall building and looked down from above, he felt dizzy and timid. He no longer had the courage to die. The depressed Chu Xiaoran drank until he was dead drunk. When he returned home and heard his child crying, the volcano in his heart erupted. He then beat the innocent Xia Xiaoran up. Chu Xiaoran wanted to vent the grievances in his heart. Hence, he hit Xia Xiaoran very hard, causing her face to be bruised and swollen. The drunk Chu Xiaoran vented his tyrannical mood on Xia Xiaoran, who could only bear with it silently. The next day, when Chu Xiaoran sobered up and saw the unsightly Xia Xiaoran, he knelt in front of her and begged for forgiveness. He kept saying sorry to Xia Xiaoran. It was because he was too depressed in his heart that he tried his best to get up and give his mother and daughter a happy family. Xia Xiaoran had never seen Chu Xiaoran in such a sorry state. She hugged Chu Xiaoran and forgave him without saying a word. Without money, Chu Xiaoran felt weak all over. He stayed at home and did not go anywhere. Xia Xiaoran would send him 3 meals a day. He did not care about his appearance and did not even bother to shave his beard. He was extremely dispirited and obviously had not recovered from the shock of being deceived. Chu Xiaoran could no longer be found in the current him. Chu Xiaoran stayed at home all day and did nothing. However, he needed to spend money on his child's milk powder, diapers, rent, utilities, food, and clothing. Xia Xiaoran originally wanted to reach out and ask Chu Xiaoran for money, but she remembered that Chu Xiaoran had just been cheated of some money some time ago. Chu Xiaoran would feel uncomfortable if she mentioned money to him. The pressure of survival was all on Xia Xiaoran. Xia Xiaoran, who had never worked before, had to work to earn money. People like Xia Xiaoran were not suitable for work at all. Many companies did not want Xia Xiaoran, although she had a university degree. On one hand, Xia Xiaoran was considered a well-known figure in T-City because she was once the girlfriend of T-City's Prince Charming Chu Xiaoran. On the other hand, Xia Xiaoran always looked lost and helpless. It was obvious that she did not have the ability to work. In the end, Xia Xiaoran washed dishes in a small restaurant and even clumsily broke a plate. When she received her salary, she still had to pay for the broken plate. She did not receive much money at all. After washing dishes non-stop for a day, her waist was about to break. Her hands were wrinkled from soaking in water. When she returned home, the child wailed loudly. Chu Xiaoran sat on the sofa and watched television. He did not even think of hugging his child. After coaxing the child, Xia Xiaoran busied herself with cooking. After a day, Xia Xiaoran's face turned pale. When she slept, her waist hurt so much that she could not turn over. When the child made a fuss in the middle of the night, she still had to get up to coax him. Even so, Xia Xiaoran still did not say a word to Chu Xiaoran. The next morning, she woke up and prepared breakfast. She fed the child until he was full and changed his diapers before leaving. Chu Xiaoran was still sleeping in bed. Chu Xiaoran, who had nothing to do, felt frustrated. Hence, he drowned his sorrows in alcohol and began to drink. The drunk Chu Xiaoran would always hit Xia Xiaoran uncontrollably. In the past, Chu Xiaoran used to treat Xia Xiaoran coldly, but now, it had developed to the point of punching and kicking. Chu Xiaoran, who had fallen from a high position and was frustrated, could only find a sense of existence in Xia Xiaoran. After sobering up, Chu Xiaoran confessed to Xia Xiaoran. He promised time and time again that there would be no next time. However, the drunk Chu Xiaoran could not remember anything. Such venting was addictive. Xia Xiaoran's forgiveness time and time again made Chu Xiaoran unscrupulously. He even felt that it was natural. Chapter 5:32. Ning Shu knew that when Xia Xiaoman went out to work, the family of 3 depended on her for food while Chu Xiaoran did nothing. Not only that, he even drank and hit people when he was drunk. However, Xia Xiaoman still had no regrets. Ning Shu was dumbfounded. His outlook on life was refreshed again. How much tolerance does Xia Xiaoman have to live such a life? She still treats Chu Xiaoran like a treasure. She's in the late stages of Stockholm Syndrome. He felt that Xia Xiaoman was the kind of person who could still live happily with Chu Xiaoran even after Chu Xiaoran raped her mother, raped her father, and didn't even let off the chihuahua at home. Su Wenlang treated Xia Xiaoman very well, but Xia Xiaoman couldn't feel love. Instead, Chu Xiaoran kept hurting her, but she felt that it was love. There was something wrong with his outlook on love. He didn't even have the basic respect and love. What kind of love was this? As long as Chu Xiaoran behaved a little better, Xia Xiaoman would take a step back. Xia Xiaoman was in a weak position, and she was the one who put herself in a weak position. Ning Shu only asked people to continue paying attention to them. He didn't plan to care about them at all. He looked down at the two of them who were struggling to survive and suffering. In the plot, they were tortured and ended up together happily. That was because they had the support of money. Now that they didn't have the capital to torture others, they would only be tortured by life. Ning Shu went to court to file a lawsuit when he had nothing to do. He would also take some time to walk around and relax. Occasionally, he would listen to the things between Chu Xiaoran and Xia Xiaoman. It seemed that Chu Xiaoran was now addicted to gambling and wanted to become rich through gambling. Every time, he would take away the money at home. That money was the money that Xia Xiaoman painstakingly earned for her children. Chu Xiaoran, who started stealing money, felt a little guilty. He told Xia Xiaoman that he would definitely win a lot of money back and didn't want to see her suffer so much. Xia Xiaoman didn't say anything and had no choice but to work harder. Wasn't Xia Xiaoman tired? She was very tired, but Xia Xiaoman only wanted to have someone to rely on. Even if it was a little tiring, she definitely wouldn't be able to hang on if she was alone. Xia Xiaoman was a person who was very afraid of loneliness. She had no independent mentality and Chu Xiaoran was her psychological support. Even if Chu Xiaoran was in a bad state now, Xia Xiaoman was still afraid that he would leave her. Chu Xiaoran did not take care of his family or his children. He was addicted to gambling all day long. He wanted to rely on gambling to win a lot of money so that he could return to the past. Gambling had always been a bottomless pit. Even if one threw in a lot of money, they might not be able to win back a lot of money. Chu Xiaoran, who had lost money, could only take money from his family and gamble day and night. He became very irritable and often asked Xia Xiaoman for money. If Xia Xiaoman didn't give it to him, he would beat Xia Xiaoman up as if she was his enemy. He even yelled why Xia Xiaoman didn't sell it. Xia Xiaoman's heart was hurt. Chu Xiaoran had asked her to sell herself as a prostitute, which had completely hurt her. However, she was beaten up by Chu Xiaoran as soon as she refuted him. Xia Xiaoman often had new wounds added to her old ones. However, Xia Xiaoman still endured it silently because if she said a word of objection, Chu Xiaoran would storm her. Without money and power, Chu Xiaoran was even more of a scumbag. In the past, the scumbag had money and good looks, so it was normal for him to be a little willful. Now, Xia Xiaoman could no longer afford the rent. She could only move to a small house that cost 200 to 300 yuan a month. However, there was only one room, and she had to eat, drink, and defecate in one room. She was surrounded by rented houses and migrant workers who left early and returned late. "Boss, there's a woman called Xia Xiaoman at the door looking for you." Ning Shu was looking at a document when his secretary walked in and said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Why is Xia Xiaoman looking for me?" Xia Xiaoman has not interacted with Chu Xiaoran since he went to prison. It has been almost 2 years since then. Ning Shu walked to the window and saw Xia Xiaoman standing at the door. She was wearing simple clothes that were resistant to dirt. Xia Xiaoman was very thin, and it was shocking to see her. Ning Shu felt something in his heart and an inexplicable emotion flowed out. This should be the emotion of the original owner. Call her in. Ning Shu still had some things to ask Xia Xiaoman. The secretary brought Xia Xiaoman in. Xia Xiaoman looked a little reserved. When she met Ning Shu's gaze, she quickly lowered her head. Ning Shu saw the dark circles under Xia Xiaoman's eyes. She was obviously beaten by Chu Xiaoran. "Have a seat," Ning Shu said indifferently. Xia Xiaoman sat on the sofa trembling. Ning Shu asked again, "What do you want to drink?" No. Xia Xiaoman hurriedly waved her hand, looking very flustered. The cruel life had destroyed Xia Xiaoman into a timid and humble woman. Ning Shu saw that her hands were very rough, and there were some small wounds. She was wearing very cheap flat rubber shoes. Although Xia Xiaoman was simple in the past, she was still very beautiful when she tidied herself up. She would never leave her high heels behind when she went out. The heavy pressure of life made Xia Xiaoman have no money and no time to tidy herself up. When survival became a problem, living was the most important thing. Ning Shu looked at Xia Xiaoman. Her skin had become rough and darker than before, but her lips were pale without any color. She was anemic and malnourished. There was even a black aura between her eyebrows. Xia Xiaoman's body was seriously overdrawn, and she might even die young. Ning Shu felt very stifled. Why didn't women love themselves more? Why couldn't they leave men? Xia Xiaoman's various actions made Ning Shu hate her very much, but she herself was addicted to it. When Xia Xiaoman saw Ning Shu staring at her, she could only lower her head and pinch the corner of her clothes with her hands uneasily. She didn't even have the courage to look at Ning Shu. The man was wearing a straight suit, and his handsome appearance set her off into the mud. Xia Xiaoman's heart was full of feelings, and she was very impetuous. Is it worth it? Ning Shu asked. A woman could humiliate herself like this. Xia Xiaoman raised her head and looked at Ning Shu, then lowered her head and whispered, "Brother Wenlang, I can't go back." Because there was no hope, she simply saved her strength and was too lazy to struggle? Just like that? Now Xia Xiaoman was less than 30 years old, but her face looked like she was almost 40 years old. She was dark and thin, and her whole body was tired. It was a good time for a woman to go shopping and drink coffee with her best friend in beautiful high heels. Xia Xiaoman's miserable life was completely caused by herself. Perhaps she didn't feel how miserable she was. She was with the man she loved, and they had a child. It was a perfect family. Ning Shu originally wanted to ask Xia Xiaoman if she regretted it for Su Wenlang, but it was obviously unnecessary. Chapter 5:33. Why are you looking for me? Ning Shu said faintly. They had not contacted each other for a long time. Why did Xia Xiaoman suddenly come to him? Xia Xiaoman's face was a little red, which made her face dark red. The sunburn on her face became obvious. Xia Xiaoman pinched the corner of her clothes tightly, looking embarrassed. Ning Shu didn't rush her. She asked her secretary to pour 2 glasses of water. Xia Xiaoman wiped her hands on her clothes, picked up the glass and drank the water. Ning Shu asked his secretary to pour more water. Xia Xiaoman hurriedly waved her hand. Thank you, Brother Wenlang. I'm not thirsty. Brother Wenlang, Xia Xiaoman opened her mouth but did not say anything in the end. Xia Xiaoman really could not open her mouth. She came to Ning Shu because she was forced by Chu Xiaoran. It was hard to imagine that Chu Xiaoran forced her to come. In the past, whenever she mentioned Su Wenlang's name, Chu Xiaoran would be very angry. But now, he asked her to come to Su Wenlang because Su Wenlang was rich. Chu Xiaoran often saw Ning Shu on TV, and Ning Shu was already the ambassador of T-City. There was a public service advertisement that was often broadcast on TV. Chu Xiaoran hated Ning Shu. His eyes were red as he looked at his enemy who was infinitely famous. However, he had an idea in his heart. He wanted Xia Xiaoman to ask Ning Shu for money. Now, Chu Xiaoran did not mind his woman going to Su Wenlang at all. He no longer had any money to gamble. Since he could ask Xia Xiaoman to sell herself, it was obvious that Chu Xiaoran was only treating Xia Xiaoman as a money-making tool. Even if Xia Xiaoman really slept with Su Wenlang, he would be able to get money from Su Wenlang. With Su Wenlang's weakness in his hands, he could get more money from Su Wenlang in the future. Under the threat of Chu Xiaoran's fists, Xia Xiaoman came to Ning Shu. However, facing the person who almost became her life partner, Xia Xiaoman only felt embarrassed. She did not want to appear in front of Brother Wenlang in such a sorry state. Brother Wenlang, I'll leave first. Xia Xiaoman suddenly stood up and hurriedly left. Ning Shu raised her eyebrows. Xia Xiaoman had come to tell her something, but she left without saying anything. The person who was keeping an eye on Chu Xiaoran told him that Chu Xiaoran had sent Xia Xiaoman to ask her for money. Ning Shu was instantly speechless. The current Chu Xiaoran was really disgusting. Chu Xiaoran had always been so despicable. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a thing. When Xia Xiaoman returned empty-handed, she naturally had to face Chu Xiaoran's fury. Chu Xiaoran originally expected Xia Xiaoman to bring back 2 stacks of money, but she didn't even get a single coin. In addition, Xia Xiaoman said that she would never ask Brother Wenlang for money, which angered Chu Xiaoran. Chu Xiaoran grabbed Xia Xiaoman's hair and slammed her against the wall, looking as if she was his enemy. Xia Xiaoman's face was covered in blood and she fainted. Chu Xiaoran immediately panicked. He sent Xia Xiaoman to the hospital. Xia Xiaoman relied on Chu Xiaoran, but Chu Xiaoran also relied on Xia Xiaoman. Without Xia Xiaoman, he couldn't survive. He had no food to eat and no money to gamble. When Xia Xiaoman was sent to the hospital, the doctor said that she had a concussion. However, the hospitalization fee was quite high. Chu Xiaoran scrounged up enough money at home. After paying the hospitalization fee, he was out of money and brought Xia Xiaoman home. Xia Xiaoman ignored her this time. Her mind was filled with Brother Wenlong's question, "Is it worth it?" Xia Xiaoman didn't know if it was worth it. Chu Xiaoran probably felt that he was in the wrong, so he treated Xia Xiaoman much better this time. He even cooked for Xia Xiaoman and fed her mouthfuls of food. Xia Xiaoman's heart was numb and she didn't know what to feel. After Xia Xiaoman recovered, she started to work again. Moreover, she was carrying the child on her back when she was working. Now that the child could crawl, it would cause problems if she left him at home. Chu Xiaoran sat at the gambling table all day and didn't care about anything. Ning Shu felt that Ning Chu and Xiaoran were living too comfortably now, which was why they thought of using her as their target. Ning Shu directly found someone to cripple one of Chu Xiaoran's fingers. Chu Xiaoran's little finger was chopped off in the casino. Chu Xiaoran used to run an underground gambling den, so he should be very clear about the twists and turns in it. It was impossible to make a fortune by relying on gambling. Chu Xiaoran probably knew in his heart, but he had to vent his frustrations. Besides, gambling was addictive. Once he walked on this path of no return. Chu Xiaoran was sent to the hospital. Xia Xiaoman tried her best to collect enough money to reattach Chu Xiaoran's finger, but it required too much money. Xia Xiaoman couldn't afford it and couldn't do anything about it. For Chu Xiaoran, Xia Xiaoman put down the last bit of dignity in her heart and came to Ning Shu to beg. However, she was told that Ning Shu wasn't there. Xia Xiaoman was burning with anxiety. She waited at the door, but Ning Shu didn't come out. At this time, Ning Shu had already gone to the countryside to spread his knowledge of the law. In the end, Chu Xiaoran's finger couldn't be reconnected and he became a disabled person. Knowing that his finger was gone, Chu Xiaoran was furious. He vented all his emotions on Xia Xiaoman and beat her up until she was sent to the hospital. The two of them were lying in the hospital. They had no money and were driven out of the hospital the next day. In the end, the two injured people could only help each other home. Ning Shu knew about these things, but she just smiled faintly. Supporting each other like this was also true love. Ding, do you want to leave the mission world? 2333's voice appeared in Ning Shu's mind. Leave. He had stayed in this world for a long time, about 5 years. This was the first time he had stayed in this world for so long. He had to leave. Mother Su was very irritable now. Her son didn't want to get married and was almost never at home. When she asked him to go on blind dates, he would run far away. Today, he was in the city. Tomorrow, he would run to the mountains. Mother Su originally thought that she was already very irritable due to menopause. Her son's marriage made her even more irritable. Ning Shu couldn't do anything to Mother Su. This kind of thing had to wait for the original owner to come back and deal with. Ning Shu's head became dizzy. When he opened his eyes, he was already in the system space. Ning Shu didn't care about anything and just lay on the bed to sleep. This mission was really too tiring. It was really not easy to fight with the rich and powerful Chu Xiaoran. He didn't know how long he slept, but he was finally full. When Ning Shu woke up, he saw that his soul was a little dim. Obviously, staying in the mission world for too long had hurt Ning Shu. Ning Shu sat on the ground and began to cultivate. When his soul was full, Ning Shu stretched and asked 2333, "Why did I become a man again? Didn't you say that you fixed the system last time? Why are you always so hung up on this? Men and women are just shells. They are all fake. Why do you have to be so hung up on it?" 2333 said with some dissatisfaction. Ning Shu stared blankly at him, speechless. "You still have a reason." Chapter 5:34. Ning Shu gave up on talking about life with 2333. It was just a stupid system. Let's look at the points this time. Ning Shu was looking forward to the points this time. After all, She had helped Su Wenlang find a new life and become a famous lawyer with a law firm. Number 23333 Name, Ning Shu, beginner mission taker. Age, 27 points. 550 000/1 soul, 300 HP, 71 wisdom, 140 charm, 3 luck, 67 MP, 120 faith, 1415 aptitude, 39 strength, 92 merit, 36 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, beginner martial arts, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skills honorary title, goddess of war, selfless ancestor aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Chen Shi's blessing, leader, aura, grass blessing, best friend for life, Meow Meow Meow's blessing, fulfill Su Wenlang's wish, revenge on Chu Xiaoran. Mission completion, 100. Reward, 1,000,000 points, 50 attribute points, 15 faith points. Ning Shu. Oh, Ning Shu was stunned. 1,000,000 points, 50 attribute points. It was an unprecedented amount of points. Ning Shu even suspected that she had seen wrongly. Is there a mistake? Ning Shu asked 2333. He felt that it was too unreal. 2333's voice was a little surprised. What did you do to get so many points? Ning Shu. Damn, I want to beat the shit out of 2333. Ning Shu suddenly felt that 300,000 points was not that expensive. He could earn it back with just one mission. Such a high number of points should be because Su Wenlang won a respectable position in society and escaped the tragic fate of dying young. Ning Shu's entire body felt refreshed, and she happily jumped on the spot. Then she coughed and said, Aya, how should I distribute 50 attribute points? I've never had so many attribute points before. Show off. 2333 murmured. Then he continued to advise Ning Shu, add 1 point to your luck. Luck is a mysterious thing. If you encounter a treasure, you might not be able to get it. You might just watch it slip away in front of your eyes. Ning Shu listened to 2333's advice and put his attribute points into intelligence, luck, and force. With so many points, Ning Shu felt like a nouveau riche. The attribute panel began to change. Serial number 23333 Name, Ning Shu, primary mission enforcer, age, 27 points, 1, 550 000 soul value, 300 HP, 71 wisdom, 14030 charm, 3 luck, 3410 spiritual power, 120 faith, 19 aptitude, 39 combat power, 9, 210 merit, 36 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, trash fighting technique, entry to unique martial arts, elementary business management knowledge, elementary code programming, elementary lawyer skills. Honorary title, goddess of war, selfless ancestor aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, model worker, Qinshi's blessing, leader aura, grass blessing, best friend for life, Meow Meow Meow's blessing. This time, the high points made Ning Shu very happy. He felt that he had found the right direction and that the consultant did not lie to him. It was to treat the mission enforcer's life as your own and strive for a brilliant life. Fame, status, money, power, as long as you achieve one, it would be a successful life. Ning Shu calmed himself down and prepared to go to the virtual space. Although he could not afford to buy anything, it was good to broaden his horizons. Last time, he saw the school doctor. Ning Shu wanted to try his luck and see if he could meet the school doctor again. 2333 was really a piece of trash. He did not know anything when you asked him. After a moment of weightlessness, Ning Shu found himself standing on the quaint street. Ning Shu first went to the consultation room to thank the silver-haired man. But when he reached the door, Ning Shu stopped. It was better not to go in. She would be speechless if he asked her for points after saying a few words. Ning Shu turned around and left. He was going to the restaurant to eat something to satisfy his appetite. Ning Shu liked this kind of lively place where he could hear a lot of gossip. With so many mission enforcers gathered together, he could always hear some more important information. Ning Shu ordered some dishes and listened to the gossip of the people around him. In fact, Ning Shu wanted to know about the school doctor. Originally, Ning Shu only thought that the school doctor was a little badass, a little evil, a little misophobic, and a little abstinent. But after seeing the school doctor in the virtual space, Ning Shu felt that the school doctor was even more evil. For some reason, he felt that the school doctor's evil aura was even stronger. He was a little scared. Ning Shu gnawed on a drumstick while listening to other people's conversations. After listening for a long time, he did not hear anything about the school doctor. Was he hallucinating when he saw the school doctor? The school doctor who appeared and disappeared like a ghost. Ning Shu was too lazy to care about the school doctor. He ate a table full of dishes, paid the bill, and wandered around the virtual space. Ning Shu saw a pet shop. Pet shop. There were pets here. Ning Shu walked in. The shop was full of cages with all kinds of pets. There were cats, dogs, and some animals that Ning Shu did not recognize. They were probably products of other dimensions. Ning Shu saw a husky. This husky was lying on the ground with its long tongue hanging by the side of its mouth. It had an expression that said, "What are you looking at?" Ning Shu wandered around. He wanted to buy one back, but he remembered that he was doing missions most of the time. It was not good to leave a pet in the system space where time did not pass. The system space was very quiet. Staying in the system space for too long was actually not good for one's mentality. Ning Shu gave up on buying a pet. After wandering around for a while, Ning Shu decided to go back. 2333, let's go back. After a moment of weightlessness, he returned to the system space. Ning Shu took a book from the bookshelf and started reading. He planned to finish reading a book before doing a mission. He could always finish all the books on the bookshelf. After an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu finally finished reading a book. It was probably because his IQ attribute points had increased. Ning Shu felt that the things he read were engraved in his mind. Yes, Ning Shu's goal was to turn his brain into a library and become a woman who read books and poems. A beautiful woman with a heart full of literature and a mind as deep as a valley. Charm was not important. What was important was temperament, temperament, temperament. Ning Shu watered the potted plant again. Then he slowly opened the exchange shop. As usual, he exchanged for fasting pills, water, medicine, fake death medicine, and realgar powder. After browsing the shop for a while, Ning Shu resisted the urge to chop off his hands. He now had 5 million points. He only needed 5 million more to become an intermediate mission taker. Chapter 5:35. Ning Shu's current goal was to become an intermediate task enforcer. This way, he would be able to choose his own missions and talk to the person who commissioned him face to face. He would be able to understand what the person wanted and complete the mission better. Most importantly, he would be able to bargain. Awesome. He estimated that he would be able to become an intermediate task enforcer after completing 3 more missions. Ning Shu now wanted to save his points to become an intermediate task enforcer. He felt that he would only have a little say after becoming an intermediate task enforcer. He would be able to choose the missions he wanted to do. 2333, let's do the mission, Ning Shu said. This time, you cannot become a man. Let me tell you, before Ning Shu could finish his sentence, he felt dizzy. Damn, 2333, this idiot. He felt that his soul was merging with a body. A female voice sounded beside his ear, but this female voice was slightly hoarse. Your Majesty, it's time to leave the bed. Ning Shu was still feeling a little uncomfortable, but when he heard the name Your Majesty, he suddenly opened his eyes and quickly touched his lower body. Phew, luckily, it was a woman. Your Majesty? It was the Empress. Seeing Ning Shu's lifeless eyes, the female official beside her said, Your Majesty, it's time to go to court. Ning Shu had not accepted the plot and was still at a loss. The woman beside his ear kept talking, so Ning Shu could only get up. Another large group of servants came in and helped Ning Shu change his clothes. A cup of water was placed in front of Ning Shu's mouth. Ning Shu lowered her head and took a sip, swallowing it down with a gulp. Your Majesty, please rinse your mouth. The female official beside her saw Ning Shu drinking the water and quickly said. Ning Shu was speechless. Why didn't she say that this was mouthwash earlier? Ning Shu's expression did not change as he drank another mouthful and rinsed his mouth. A palace servant held a spittoon and Ning Shu spat out the water in his mouth. His days were really extravagant. He stretched out his hand for clothes and opened his mouth for food. The palace servants then combed Ning Shu's hair. They combed it into an extremely complicated bun and then inserted all kinds of luxurious hairpins into it. It was incomparably luxurious. Ning Shu felt that his neck was about to be twisted. He didn't dare to move. Surrounded by a group of people, Ning Shu, who didn't know anything, arrived at the place where the imperial court was to be held. Suddenly, a loud voice shouted beside him, "Her Majesty the Empress has arrived." All officials kneel to welcome her. Ning Shu was startled by the female official's voice. Then he slowly walked over and sat on the dragon throne. Seeing so many people kneeling below, he stood up and said in a clear voice, "Rise." Ning Shu wanted to sit down, but when he saw all the women below, he was surprised. Could it be Womanland? Ning Shu coughed and said, "If you have something to say, just say it." "I have a headache." Just as Ning Shu's voice fell, a woman wearing light green clothes and a gem between her eyebrows made her look refreshing and feminine. Her eyes were filled with worry for Ning Shu. She asked, "Mother Empress, are you okay? Why do you have a headache?" "Mother Empress." Ning Shu looked at this young girl. She was about 15 or 16 years old. With such a big child, the original owner of this body shouldn't be young. Ning Shu didn't know who this girl was. He only said, "I just haven't rested well." The girl said, "Oh, Mother Empress, do you need an imperial physician to take a look?" Another woman wearing bright yellow clothes asked. Ning Shu originally didn't have a headache, but this time, it really hurt. He didn't accept the plot and was stunned. The female official at the side saw that Ning Shu's expression was somewhat impatient. She quickly shouted, "If there's something to report, the imperial court is dismissed." Every time he heard this female official speak, Ning Shu felt that his ears couldn't stand it. Fortunately, these people were more tactful. They didn't say anything and left the imperial court. Returning to the palace, Ning Shu said to the female official beside him, "I will rest for a while. Don't come in and disturb me." Ning Shu laid on the chaise lounge and began to accept the plot. This was a time where women were respected. Men's status was lower. It was a world where men were superior and women were inferior. Women were able to support their families. Only women could become officials in the imperial court. The country was managed by women. The women here were treated like beasts, and the men were married to the women. The original owner of this body was called Mu Nisheng. She was the empress of Xian country. She looked like she was in her 30s. The original owner of this body was a mediocre emperor. She didn't have any great talents and didn't have any great achievements. However, she was still a qualified emperor. She only wanted to peacefully live out her life as an emperor and hand over the country to a suitable successor. But in terms of the successor, Mu Nisheng ruined Xian country. Originally, Xian country already had a crown princess. It was the woman in the bright yellow dress in the imperial court. However, Mu Nisheng doted on the fourth princess. She even abolished the crown princess for the sake of the fourth princess and supported the fourth princess. The fourth princess didn't notice Mu Nisheng's painstaking efforts. In fact, this fourth princess was a soft and cute girl. The real fourth princess was a cruel and lustful person. She was killed by her own husband and the soft and cute girl transmigrated. In this world where women were respected, the soft and cute girl knew how to act coquettishly and blush. She also knew how to act cute. She also inherited the beauty of the imperial family and attracted the attention of all kinds of men. This was actually a story of a girl who attracted love everywhere. She fell in love with all kinds of men. The cute girl was indeed kind-hearted and treated Mu Nisheng well. She treated Mu Nisheng as her real mother. It was easy to tell if people were sincere or hypocritical when interacting with each other. Moreover, Mu Nisheng had been the empress for many years. The fourth princess's care for Mu Nisheng was sincere. Mu Nishang protected her daughter openly and secretly. It was inevitable that she would spoil her a little. The empress didn't like her position being coveted by others. Mu Nishang even tested the fourth princess a few times, saying that she wanted to pass the throne to the fourth princess. However, the fourth princess didn't agree. Moreover, the fourth princess disliked the throne. The fourth princess wanted to be a carefree prince and play everywhere. Being the empress meant being trapped in the palace. People were like this. If you insist on snatching, I won't give it to you. If you don't want it, I will give it to you. In the end, the throne was still in the hands of the fourth princess. The fourth princess was a soft and gentle girl. How could she handle the affairs of the imperial court? She was completely clueless. Even when Mu Nishang taught her how to rule the country, she was still sloppy. After ascending the throne, the fourth princess's official husband was in charge of handling the affairs of the imperial court. This fourth princess was the son of the prime minister. He was very knowledgeable. After the fourth princess gave birth to his son, he taught his son how to rule the country step by step. When his son was able to take charge, the fourth princess told the fourth princess to let her son be the emperor. Then, the group of them would go sightseeing. The fourth princess was naturally willing. She didn't have any objections to a man being the emperor. After all, in her time and space, it was always men who were the emperors. Then, the fourth princess brought her 3 husbands and 4 attendants to sightsee. She enjoyed the happiness of having multiple men and occasionally came back to see her son. Then, the country became the Yuan families. It was still a man who was the emperor. The status of men and women slowly shifted. Chapter 5:36. In fact, in the hundreds of years that the Mu family ruled Xian country, male chauvinism had begun to sprout. That is, men were no longer satisfied with staying at home and being controlled by women. Men's male hormones had always been full of plunder and invasion. Even if the men of today acted coquettishly and put on makeup, the desire for power lurked in their bones. Huang Siku's personality was very attractive to men. Her personality was different from the strong women of this era. The men who could follow Huang Siku all loved her very much. Even if the mother had ambitions in her heart, she still wanted her son to become the emperor so that she could play with her beloved. If she did not love Huang Siku, she would have become the emperor. Huang Siku was a girl worthy of deep love. She was sincere to people. She was a little silly and simple-minded, but she was lovable. The original owner's wish was to protect Xian country and not let the lowly men control it. She did not want Huang Siku to become the empress, but she hoped that Huang Siku would be safe. Mu Nishang did not have any hatred for Huang Siku. After all, it was her own love for Huang Siku that blinded her and gave the people around Huang Siku an opportunity. After Ning Shu accepted the plot, he felt that this task was relatively simple. Huang Siku did not want to be the emperor. The country already had a crown prince, so the country could be handed over to the crown princess. Sozi. Ning Shu felt that this task was not difficult. The only difficulty was that she had never been the emperor. So now she had to learn how to deal with court affairs and be a qualified emperor. Your Majesty, Her Highness Huang Siku is waiting for Your Majesty at the door. I said that Your Majesty was resting, but Her Highness Huang Siku said that she would wait until Your Majesty woke up. The female official saw that Ning Shu had woken up and came over to inform Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. Let her in. Huang Xinu walked in and bowed towards Ning Shu. She was still wearing the light green robes that she wore to the morning court. It seemed that she had not returned to the Fu at all and had come here to wait after the morning court. Just this gesture made Ning Shu's heart feel warm. No wonder Mu Nishang loved this girl so much. Even if the country was ruined, she did not blame her. Imperial Mother, how is your body? Have you called the imperial physician? Did you not sleep well last night? Imperial Mother, you should walk more. Don't stay in the hall all the time. Go out and take in some fresh air. Imperial Mother, why don't you learn yoga from your son? It can help you shape your body, exercise your body, and release pressure. It's only comfortable when you sweat all over, Imperial Mother. Mu Yao was a chatterbox. Ning Shu's ears were filled with Mu Yao's chattering. The corners of Ning Shu's mouth held a smile as he waited for her to speak. After Mu Yao finished speaking, she looked at Ning Shu with clear eyes. Imperial Mother, what do you think? Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu stiffly changed the topic. I heard that the servants in your inner courtyard are causing trouble again recently. Men should be disciplined more, don't spoil them all the time. Mu Yao's face reddened. She shook Ning Shu's arm and said coquettishly, your son knows that they have no ill intentions. If they had no ill intentions, how could they have caused Mu Yao's death? Now that they sensed that Mu Yao had changed, each and every one of them had taken a fancy to her. However, they just had to put on its Sundara appearance and try their best to seduce her. Even the guards that Mu Nishang had sent to Mu Yao fell in love with her. The main thing was that Mu Yao was really too different. Even the son of the prime minister and the son of the minister who had his eyes above his head treated Mu Yao differently. Imperial Mother, your son will give you a massage. Your head will feel better. Mu Yao did not wait for Ning Shu's reply. She reached out to press on Ning Shu's temples and gently massaged around his eyes. Needless to say, Mu Yao's massage technique was really not bad. Ning Shu felt very comfortable. Yao, you're a noble daughter of the imperial family. You have to show a bit of dignity, understand? Ning Shu said with his eyes closed. Mu Yao was a soft and cute girl. Your son understands, Mu Yao said obediently. However, when faced with so many men, she had a feeling of being unable to straighten her back. Ning Shu did not really mind. Mu Yao's character was like this, and it could not be changed. Ning Shu had Mu Yao stay for breakfast, but during breakfast, Mu Yao was somewhat absent-minded. Ning Shu saw her like this and had her leave. Mu Yao bowed to Ning Shu, then ran back to her estate as if her butt was on fire. The beautiful men in the estate had made breakfast for her. If she returned late, they would throw a tantrum with her again. Mu Yao was different from the female chauvinism of this world. She was very good to the male servants in the inner courtyard. Mu Yao was a good woman. After breakfast, Ning Shu began to review the memorials. Although he had the original owner's memories, Ning Shu stared at these memorials for a long time before his mind wandered. Because these memorials were rambling for a long time, he did not know what to say. After a long string of words, he finally got to the main topic. Being an emperor was so difficult because of the people below. Moreover, there was not a single punctuation mark in the entire memorial. When Ning Shu silently read a sentence, he was already on the verge of death. He completely did not know where to stop the sentence. What a headache! Ning Shu read 2 memorials with difficulty. His head was dizzy and he closed the memorial. The female official Ning Shu said, Your Majesty, the Phoenix Empress heard that Your Majesty was not feeling well and made a tonic soup. Phoenix? Phoenix Empress? Ning Shu immediately felt as if he was struck by lightning. Previously, he only felt that this mission was simple. However, he neglected the fact that Mu Nishang was an emperor. She had 3 palaces and 6 courtyards in the imperial harem and so many male concubines. Ning Shu felt dizzy. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Did she have to pamper the men in the imperial harem? Her kidneys would be weak. The female official waited for Ning Shu's reply. Ning Shu rubbed his forehead and said, Let the Phoenix Empress come in. A man wearing ivory white clothes walked in. This man was handsome, but his every movement was dignified and magnanimous. He carried a box of food in his hand and bowed to Ning Shu. He took out the tonic soup from the box and gently said to Ning Shu, Changqing greets Your Majesty. Mu Nishang's Phoenix Empress was called Lu Changqing. He was the crown princess's father. Ning Shu recalled the plot. It seemed that he was banished to the cold palace by Mu Nishang. Mu Nishang did not even see him before she died. Lu Changqing's eyebrows and eyes were like a painting. His hair was slightly loose and there was a xiangfei bamboo flute at his waist. He was a very elegant man. Thank you, Phoenix Empress. Ning Shu looked at the tonic soup and said, I will drink it later. Lu Changqing smiled faintly. He did not force Ning Shu to drink the tonic soup. He only said, Your Majesty, drink it while it's hot. It won't taste good when it's cold. Ning Shu nodded and lowered his head to look at the memorial. Lu Chongqing bowed and turned to leave. The jade at his waist made a low sound when it collided with the xiangfei bamboo. Lu Chongqing was a very charming man. Ning Shu did not drink the tonic soup. Instead, he gave it to the female official beside him. This was because when he faced Lu Chongqing, there was an indescribable feeling in his heart. This feeling was not Ning Shu's, but the original owner's. Ning Shu did not know what this feeling contained, but it made Ning Shu wary. Chapter 537. Ning Shu's scalp went numb at the thought of having so many hot male concubines in the harem. Actually, Mu Nishang was a woman with a strong desire. As the empress, there was no way she could stay in front of so many handsome men. Phoenix Empress Lu Chongqing had just delivered the tonic soup. Not long after, Crown Princess Mu Shui sent someone to deliver something into the palace. Ning Shu looked at the box that the Empress Dowager had given her. It was filled with pills that looked like mud balls. Looking at the color, she had no appetite at all. What's more, pills were things like cinnabar, sulfur, alchemy stones, and the like mixed together. If it was a little exaggerated, it would be like adding a little bit of a maiden's blood into the pill furnace to refine it. This thing could cure all diseases and make one immortal? The original owner had a habit of eating pills because it could double Mu Nishang's pleasure in bed. Over time, she couldn't leave these things. Your Majesty, the Crown Princess said that the pills this time are better and gentler. They can also nourish the body, the female official said to Ning Shu as she held the box. Ning Shu glanced at the female official. He felt that this official was very talkative. She seemed to have been by Mu Nishang's side since she was young. She could be considered loyal. Official Autumn, don't talk so much in the future. My head hurts, Ning Shu said indifferently. Official Autumn's expression froze. She knelt on the ground and said fearfully, Your Majesty, please forgive this servant. This servant will not speak anymore. Rise. Ning Shu faintly said. She reached out and took out a pill from the box. She placed it on the tip of her nose and smelled it. There was the smell of rosin and sulfur. She guessed that the rosin was suppressing the other smells. Thinking that there might be the blood of a young woman inside, Ning Shu felt a chill. Put the pill in my chambers. Ning Shu held a cinnabar brush in her hand as she stared at the memorial. She somewhat understood that Mu Nishang didn't just abolish the crown princess because she doted on Mu Yao. It was most likely that the current crown princess was somewhat impatient and wanted to ascend the throne. What kind of daughter would give her mother pills? Anyone with a bit of common sense would know that this thing wasn't an immortality pill, but something that could take one's life. It drained one's energy and destroyed one's body. Especially the 5 minerals powder, which was the ancient version of drugs. It was a chronic poisoning. Ning Shu frowned. Originally, he wanted to give the throne to the rightful crown prince, but now it seemed that giving the country to Mu Shui was not what the original owner wanted. Otherwise, Mu Nishang would not have taken such a big risk to depose the crown prince. In other words, she still wants to do the same as in the plot, cripple Mu Yao and establish a new crown prince. In any case, it was impossible for the 4 imperial daughters to inherit the throne. Otherwise, the Yuan family would have the opportunity to control the imperial court. Excluding these 2 adult princesses, there were still 2 princesses in the middle, but they didn't have much of a presence. Ning Shu felt a headache coming on. Previously, he had thought that this quest would be simple. Now, it seemed that it wasn't simple at all. Ning Shu closed the memorial and said to Maid Qiu, "Call the 4th princess into the palace. I have something to say to her." Maid Qiu immediately went to do it. Not long after, Mu Yao hurried over. Lifting her skirt, she stepped over the threshold and walked into the palace. Her forehead was covered in sweat. It was obvious that she had rushed over after getting off the carriage at the palace entrance. Mu Yao was a little breathless as she bowed to Ning Shu. Then Ning Shu asked, "Imperial Mother, why are you looking for me?" "It's nothing. I just want someone to accompany Imperial Mother for dinner," Ning Shu said with a smile. Mu Yao sighed. "Imperial Mother suddenly summoned me into the palace. I thought it was something important." "You were too anxious," Ning Shu said with a smile. No wonder Mu Nishang doted on Mu Yao. Mu Yao had a silly air about her and was very serious when she encountered things. Everyone liked the feeling of being cared for. From Mu Yao's actions just now, it was clear that Mu Yao cared about Mu Nishang in her heart. She ran over as soon as she was called. Ning Shu didn't have any ill intentions towards Mu Yao. Moreover, the original owner of this body hoped that Mu Yao could be safe and happy. Ning Shu would also do his best to protect Mu Yao. He didn't know if the original owner of this body, Mu Nishang, could tell that this Mu Yao was no longer her woman. The two of them had changed so much. She should be able to tell that the original Mu Yao was violent, cruel, lustful, and lascivious. She definitely wasn't like the current Mu Yao. However, she still protected Mu Yao openly and secretly. She even gave the empire to Mu Yao. This showed that this Mu Yao had walked into Mu Nishang's heart, even if she knew that this Mu Yao was suspicious. As an empress, Mu Nishang's heart was lonely. Ning Shu told Maid Qiu to tell her what she liked and let the imperial kitchen make it. Mu Yao didn't stand on ceremony. She ordered what she liked to eat and also ordered what Ning Shu liked to eat. Ning Shu watched from the side and didn't say anything. Mu Yao asked Ning Shu, "Imperial Mother, is this okay?" Ning Shu nodded. Mu Yao immediately smiled and said to Maid Qiu, "I'll have to trouble Maid Qiu. This servant doesn't dare. This is this servant's duty." Maid Qiu hurriedly said. Mu Yao looked at Ning Shu's tired expression. She got up from the chair and walked behind Ning Shu. She stretched out her hand and placed it on Ning Shu's temple. She slowly rubbed it while saying, "Imperial Mother, you're working too hard. Imperial Mother has so many ministers. There are some things that you should just let them do. You're the empress, so you should be relaxed." Ning Shu could only say that Mu Yao was foolish. There were some things that only an empress could do. If a minister did it, then it would be disgraceful. Some power must be held in one's hands. Imperial Mother, people should be happy. If they can enjoy happiness, then they should enjoy it. If they can be a rice worm, then they should be a rice worm. Your son's wish is to be a rice worm. Mu Yao said in a very sincere and light tone. Everyone is in this lifetime. Imperial Mother should do something that makes you happy. For example, your son likes to go shopping and buy things. Imperial Mother, you know that there are a lot of delicious food in Xian City. The osmanthus wine from Drunken Immortal restaurant is fragrant and sweet. There's also sesame pancakes from Biscuit Shop that are crispy and fragrant. Ning Shu, I'm so sleepy. Ning Shu listened to Mu Yao talk non-stop. It was like a lullaby. When it was time to eat, Mu Yao would pick up food for Ning Shu. Then she would eat very happily. It was as if these things were delicacies in the world. Mu Yao ate very happily. Even Ning Shu felt that he had an appetite. From the moment he entered this body, Ning Shu felt all kinds of chest tightness and shortness of breath. His entire body was very weak. Ning Shu knew that this was because he had eaten too many pills. There was a lot of pill toxins in his body. Moreover, Ning Shu really wanted to eat pills. The original owner of this body ate pills when he was spiritless. After taking the pills, he would instantly feel refreshed and his strength would increase. This was actually a kind of short-term effect to confuse people. It was simply a vicious cycle. Ning Shu didn't plan to eat that pill. Every time he was upset, he would silently recite the clear heart incantation. Coupled with the effect of the calm halo, it wasn't that uncomfortable. After dinner, Ning Shu had Mu Yao go back. Call the imperial physician over. I'm not feeling well. Ning Shu said to Maid Autumn. Maid Autumn's face was filled with worry when she heard that Ning Shu wasn't feeling well. She immediately sent someone to call the imperial physician. Chapter 5:38. Ning Shu felt like he had to find a reason not to sleep with so many male concubines. Fuck, Ning Shu was very afraid of dying in bed. This body was the worst Ning Shu had ever encountered. Doctor, how is my body? Ning Shu asked the doctor who was checking his pulse. The doctor's hand shook as she took his pulse. She knelt on the ground and said, Your body needs to rest. If I may be so bold, Your Majesty should eat less medicine. What does resting involve? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at the doctor. The doctor was shocked at first, but then she said, "Your Majesty should abstain for a while." Okay, that was the answer Ning Shu wanted. The doctor left. Ning Shu planned to practice his ultimate martial arts. He had to get his body well. His body was very weak and he was always sweating. "Your Majesty, today is the 15th, Ning Shu said. So? Ning Shu understood immediately. The 15th should be at the Phoenix Queen's Palace. Ning Shu thought about it and decided to go to Phoenix Palace. Mu Nishang always went to Lu Changqing's palace on the 15th every month. Ning Shu couldn't change that. They arrived at Feng Qi Palace. Lu Changqing was dressed in blue, but he never left his bamboo flute. Lu Changqing was a very elegant and charming man. He always had an indifferent and quiet temperament. Seeing Lu Changqing, Ning Shu's heart had a strange feeling. It was like something was going to break out of his heart. Why was Mu Nishang's feelings for Lu Changqing so complicated? It was so complicated that Ning Shu couldn't tell what Mu Nishang's attitude towards Lu Changqing was. However, she was certain that Mu Nishang loved her Phoenix Queen. Lu Changqing was a quiet person. He didn't talk much in front of Ning Shu. It was awkward for the two of them to sit like this. Ning Shu coughed. Lu Changqing looked at Ning Shu and said, "Your Majesty, how about I play the flute for you?" Ning Shu shook his head. It was already so late, playing the flute would disturb the people. "Let's go to bed." A subtle expression flashed across Lu Changqing's face. He walked forward to help Ning Shu change his clothes. Lu Changqing's bony fingers brushed across Ning Shu's neck, making Ning Shu feel a burst of numbness and goosebumps all over his body. Ning Shu almost couldn't control himself and wanted to push Lu Changqing away. However, Ning Shu noticed that Lu Changqing's hand was slightly trembling. Ning Shu calmed down and held Lu Changqing's hand. Lu Changqing's hand was a bit cold, as if he was holding a piece of jade. "There's no need to trouble yourself. The imperial physician said that I need to recuperate," Ning Shu said. Lu Changqing discreetly broke free from Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu revealed a faint smile, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Lu Changqing and Ning Shu lay on the bed. The two of them were speechless. They just looked at the top of the bed. Ning Shu felt as if he had long burrs. His entire body was uncomfortable. He said, "The matters of the imperial harem are all thanks to the Phoenix Queen's concern. I thank you." Lu Changqing was silent for a moment. Then, he said lightly, "This is my responsibility." Then, the two of them were speechless again. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. "Ning Shu, why was it so tiring to talk?" Ning Shu turned his back to Lu Changqing. Lu Changqing turned his head slightly and looked at Ning Shu's back. His eyes were unfocused. He reached out and placed his hand on Ning Shu's waist. He said lightly, "Your Majesty, sleep early. There's still morning court tomorrow." Ning Shu, "Fuck, can you not put your hand on my waist? It's so prickly." While Ning Shu was still struggling, Lu Changqing had already taken his hand back. Then, he turned his body so that he was back to back with Ning Shu. In this situation, it was truly husband and wife sharing the same bed but dreaming different dreams. Ning Shu frowned. Lu Changqing, the Phoenix Queen, was really strange. Ning Shu turned around. He reached out and grabbed a handful of Lu Changqing's ink-black hair. Then, he clearly felt Lu Changqing's body stiffen and become motionless. As expected, there was a problem. Ning Shu took his hand back and sat up from the bed. He said to Lu Changqing, "I suddenly remembered an important political matter to take care of. I'll be leaving first." Lu Changqing held Ning Shu's hand. His hand was very cold. As soon as he held Ning Shu's hand, Ning Shu shivered. The coldness seemed to have invaded his heart. "Your Majesty, rest. It's already midnight. There'll be morning court soon." Lu Changqing's voice was clear and cold. He was saying words of concern, but his tone was both affectionate and emotionless. Ning Shu tightly frowned. Fuck, his heart was irritable. Especially when faced with this kind of Lu Changqing, who wanted to die but didn't die, who wanted to live but didn't have any energy. Ning Shu's heart had a lingering sense of irritation. This should be the original owner's mood. Ning Shu silently chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart to suppress this irritation. Okay, sleep. Ning Shu lay down and chanted the clear heart mantra in his heart. As he chanted, he fell asleep. He didn't know how long he had slept, but Lu Changqing's cold voice sounded in his ear. Your Majesty, it's time to leave the bed. Ning Shu woke up with a start. He felt his mouth and tongue dry, his body hot and dry. His heart was beating very fast. This body was really too weak. Ning Shu looked at Lu Changqing. Lu Changqing was sitting by the window with a book in his hand. The sunlight shone on his body, forming a faint layer of light. Even the cold and indifferent aura on his body dissipated by quite a bit. He was really a handsome man. Lu Changqing put down the book. Ning Shu walked over and picked up the clothes on the clothes rack. He said to Ning Shu, Your Majesty, change your clothes. Ning Shu opened his arms and waited for Lu Changqing to put on his clothes. When Lu Changqing came closer, Ning Shu smelled the elegant scent on his body. Ning Shu felt that Mu Nishang must have liked this Lu Changqing. But in the short time he had spent with Lu Changqing, he didn't feel Lu Changqing's love for Mu Nishang. In other words, Lu Changqing didn't love Mu Nishang? So annoying. Whatever. The male concubines in the harem had nothing to do with her. She couldn't be bothered to worry about them. Lu Changqing helped Ning Shu tidy up his clothes. Ning Shu left. When she reached the door, Lu Changqing called out to her. Ning Shu turned around and looked at Lu Changqing. Lu Changqing was silent for a moment and said, Your Majesty, take care of your body. Don't overwork yourself. Ning Shu smiled, nodded, and left. After leaving Phoenix Perch Hall, Ning Shu didn't rush to go to court. Instead, he returned to his own palace and gulped down a teapot of water. He was so thirsty that he felt like he was going to be dehydrated. Ning Shu checked his own pulse. This body had been hollowed out by elixirs. In the Phoenix Perch Hall, Ning Shu endured her thirst and didn't drink any water. She didn't know why, but whenever Ning Shu faced Lu Changqing, she always felt her hair stand on end. This kind of person who didn't like to talk and kept to himself, it was impossible to know what he was thinking. Lu Changqing wasn't very deep. He seemed like he didn't care about anything. He was indifferent and quiet. He managed the harem and didn't seek favor. Ning Shu tried hard to recall the plot. He wanted to know how Mu Nishang and Lu Changqing got along. There didn't seem to be anything special. Mu Nishang would go to Lu Changqing's Phoenix Perch Hall on the 15th of every month. The two had a daughter, Crown Princess Mu Shui. Chapter 539. Ning Shu didn't notice anything wrong with Lu Changqing, but he had a strange feeling in his heart. Ning Shu let go of his doubts and went to the morning court. He sat on the dragon throne and looked at the civil and military officials kneeling in front of him. Ning Shu's eyes focused on Crown Princess Mu Shui, who was wearing a bright yellow dress. Mu Shui looked more like Lu Changqing, but she didn't have Lu Changqing's indifference. She was full of the majesty of the imperial family. In this way, the crown princess was qualified to be the heir apparent. Ning Shu flicked his sleeve and said, Do you have something to report? Mu Shui stood up and bowed. Imperial Mother, I have something to report. Speak. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and observed Mu Shui. Mu Shui didn't have any accessories on her body. Her hair was combed into a bun, and her long hair was like a ponytail. She didn't even have earrings on her ears. It was very simple. Mu Yao and the other two imperial daughters were dressed much more beautifully than the crown princess. Ning Shuqi narrowed her eyes and looked at Mu Shui carefully. Her eyebrows had been trimmed and were no longer willowy. Instead, they were thicker with a pen. The ends of her eyebrows were raised and flew diagonally to her temples. It was hard to tell her gender. Imperial Mother, this is what I want to report. Mu Shui had a report in her hand. Maid Qiu quickly handed it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu opened it and was very surprised because he saw all kinds of punctuation marks on the report. Mu Shui introduced these punctuation marks in detail. Ning Shu was suspicious in his heart. He couldn't hide the surprise on his face. He asked Mu Shui, What does this mean? Mu Shui respectfully said, I got the inspiration from fourth imperial sister. Mu Yao, who had nothing to do and was almost sleepy, was puzzled when she heard Mu Shui's words. Mu Shui smiled and said, Imperial sister, didn't you say you have a hard time reading and don't know how to break sentences? I got the inspiration from it. Old 4, take a look. Ning Shu handed the memorial to Mu Yao. Mu Yao took the memorial from Maid Chio's hands and instantly revealed an expression of sincere admiration. Eldest Imperial sister, you're really too amazing. I only said that and you came up with these punctuation marks. Mu Shui smiled and said nothing. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and looked at Mu Shui. When Mu Shui met Ning Shu's gaze, she hurriedly said respectfully, Mother, I hope that these symbols can be popularized. Ning Shu nodded. I hope that every minister will use the memorials tomorrow morning. Ning Shu then looked at Mu Shui. What's this? Imperial Mother, these are punctuation marks. Mu Yao was the first to speak. Yes, punctuation marks. We hope that tomorrow's memorials will all have punctuation marks. Ning Shu said to Mu Shui, You've done a good job. Spread this to all the private schools. Yes, Imperial Mother, said Mu Shui. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, then court is dismissed. Ning Shu's face showed signs of exhaustion. Mu Shui saw Ning Shu's state and cupped her hands in salute. I still have something to report. Speak. Ning Shu looked at Mu Shui. Mu Shui deliberated for a moment before saying cautiously, I think that men should be allowed to leave their homes and study in private schools. Men can make contributions and work for the country. When Mu Shui said this, the hall fell silent. No one said a word. Impudent. Men should stay at home and abide by the 3 husbands and 4 virtues. How can they show their faces in public? Ning Shu said sternly. Don't let us hear something like this again. Yes, I know my mistake. After being scolded by Ning Shu, Mu Shui's face flashed with a dark and gloomy expression. She lowered her head and said in a muffled voice. Mu Yao wanted to agree with Mu Shui, but when she saw her mother's ashen face, she shut her mouth and didn't say anything. Court is dismissed. Ning Shu suddenly stood up. His vision suddenly darkened and he staggered. Fortunately, Ning Shu steadied himself and didn't fall. Ning Shu's heart froze. Although she appeared angry, she wasn't angry at all. But when she stood up, her vision darkened. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Ning Shu looked at the 4 adult princesses and felt that this mission was very troublesome. Mu Shui was also very abnormal. She was definitely a modern person who knew punctuation. Could it be that the current Mu Shui had also been transmigrated? Ning Shu rubbed his forehead and turned to leave the palace. The officials knelt to see Ning Shu off. After Ning Shu left, Mu Yao stood up and said to Mu Shui, Eldest sister, don't be discouraged. I support you. Mu Shui looked at Mu Yao indifferently. Coldness flashed in her eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. She said, Thank you, 4th sister. There's no need to thank me. Mu Yao smiled sweetly and her eyes were especially sincere. Mu Shui looked at Mu Yao's smile and was dazed for a moment. This woman was really like the woman in her memory. Mu Shui glanced at Mu Yao and turned to leave. Mu Yao was a bit confused. She shrugged and planned to go back to the palace to sleep. Ning Shu returned to his palace. He first drank a cup of water and rubbed his forehead. Why do I feel like I'm going to have a brain hemorrhage? He was also speechless. Why did Mu Nishang eat so many pills? There should be a limit to greed. Ning Shu called a royal shadow guard over and told him, Go and investigate the crown princess' living habits for me. If there is anything unusual, report it to me. Not only did Ning Shu suspect that Mu Shui had been possessed, but she also suspected that the person inside Mu Shui's body was a man. She had changed her style of dressing and makeup slightly. Mu Shui's words on behalf of a man made Ning Shu think that the person inside Mu Shui's body was a man. Mu Shui had been living with such rules since she was young. Not to mention, she was the crown princess of a country. She didn't put men in her eyes. Just like in this world where men were superior to women, the crown prince of a country didn't put women in his eyes. He wouldn't say things like letting women go out of the house to receive education and build a career. The status of men in this world was extremely low. That was why Mu Nishang didn't accept a man sitting on the throne of Xian. Mu Nishang directly called men lowly people. The status of men living at the bottom was even lower. The germination of male chauvinism mainly came from the noble young masters who could receive education. Mu Xue's core was a man. She couldn't give the throne of Xian to her. What was the difference between this and a man sitting on the throne? Now, she wanted a man to receive education and build a career. To put it bluntly, she wanted a man to rule the country and control the country's resources. The result was the same as the crown princess's son ascending the throne. Perhaps in a few hundred years, it would become a world where men were superior to women. Ning Shu patted his chest. He felt very flustered. He didn't look at the memorial anymore. He sat cross-legged on the dragon bed and prepared to cultivate a peerless martial art. Without a good body, he couldn't do anything. Chapter 540. Ning Shu sat on the bed and cultivated. He felt that there was no effect. Perhaps this body's aptitude was too poor, so he couldn't cultivate for a while. Ning Shu felt a bit irritated, but he couldn't tell where this irritability came from. Perhaps it was because his body was too uncomfortable, causing him to be in a bad mood. In addition, the peerless martial arts that had always strengthened his body didn't seem to work. Ning Shu made up his mind. He had to cultivate for a while. This body always made him feel irritated. Furthermore, he was addicted to pills. The feeling of his heart being scratched was because he wanted to eat pills. After cultivating for a while, he still didn't have any results. Instead, he had some muddy red sweat. It should be the pill poison hidden in his body. The red in the sweat should be cinnabar. After a comfortable bath, he felt a lot more refreshed. Even his muddled mind was a lot clearer. After reading a few memorials, Ning Shu planned to go out and relax. He wanted to relieve the irritation in his heart. Ning Shu needed to be calm to complete his mission. Only with a calm heart could he notice the changes in his surroundings. After walking around the imperial garden for a while, he met a male concubine playing in the garden. This male concubine's posture was very enchanting. He wore gauzy clothes. Through the gauze, one could see 2 red dogwoods on his chest. Although he was enchanting, it was obvious that he was a man. When the male concubine saw Ning Shu, his eyes lit up. It was like an ant seeing a piece of candy. He immediately pounced over. When the male concubine came close, Ning Shu smelled the heavy incense on his body. He took 2 steps back. "Your Majesty, why haven't you come to see Lu recently?" "Lu misses your Majesty." The male concubine, Ning Shu, said unhappily. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "Didn't the Phoenix Empress tell you? I haven't been feeling well recently. I won't be entering the harem for the time being." The male concubine called Lu pouted and didn't say anything. Seeing him like this, Ning Shu knew that the Phoenix Empress had spoken to these male concubines. At first glance, Lu Zhongqing was a capable man. He took good care of the harem for the original owner. Ning Shu could not figure out why Mu Nishang would banish him to the cold palace. Was it because of the crown princess? Mu Nishang should have feelings for Lu Chongqing. Why didn't she look at Lu Chongqing even when she died? If you have nothing to do, just stay in your palace. The sun is so strong that it will burn your skin, Ning Shu's concubine said. Really? The male consort touched his face. Ning Shu bowed and left in a hurry. The men in the harem all used their beauty to serve others. Of course, they cared about their appearance. Ning Shu wandered around and came to Lu Chongqing's Phoenix Perch Hall. Just as he was considering whether or not to go in, he saw Mu Xue come out. When Mu Xue saw Ning Shu, she was stunned for a moment. She quickly walked over and saluted Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at Mu Xue. His eyes flashed and he said, "Crown Princess, are you here to see the Phoenix Queen?" "Yes, I am here to see my father." "I am going to leave now," Mu Xue said respectfully. Ning Shu did not know if it was an illusion, but Mu Xue was very respectful, but Ning Shu felt that Mu Xue's attitude was not that respectful. Ning Shu nodded. Mu Xue said goodbye and left. Ning Shu looked at Mu Xue's back. The more he looked at her, the more she looked like a man. A woman's body was soft, and it was inevitable that she would sway her hips when walking. But Mu Xue walked straight. Ning Shu guessed that she was walking with her hips tight. Ning Shu looked at Phoenix Perch Hall. He did not plan on going in. Every time he faced Lu Changqing, he felt awkward. After all, she was not Mu Nisheng. It would be bad if Lu Changqing saw something. Ning Shu turned and left. He was going to return to his palace. After returning to the palace, Ning Shu sent a few royal secret guards to observe the second princess Mu Meng and the third princess Mu Rou. He wanted to see if they could become the empress. If they couldn't, then he would find a younger one and make more arrangements to ensure the stability of the country. In any case, Ning Shu could see that Mu Nisheng's intention was not to let a man usurp the country. She wanted to ensure that the country was in the hands of the Mu clan. During this time, Ning Shu did not give up on cultivating peerless martial arts. However, he did not manage to cultivate Qijin. Generally, in the modern world where there was less spirit energy, it was impossible to cultivate Qijin. In ancient times, it was possible to cultivate Qijin. However, Ning Shu took a lot of time to cultivate this body. But it was still useless. When he cultivated, he would sweat and expel some pill toxins from his body. However, it was not enough for Ning Shu. The secret guard that Ning Shu sent to observe Mu Shui came back and told Ning Shu what he had observed. Ning Shu sorted out the things that the secret guard said. Mu Shui always wore black clothes in her mansion. She never wore jewelry. She basically didn't let the servants serve her. She also didn't enter the backyard. The bulge in front of her chest was also restrained. Ning Shu was 100% sure that the person in Mu Shui's body was a man. Moreover, it was a man with serious ideas. It was getting more and more lively. However, Mu Shui also did a good thing. That was, she made punctuation marks. Now, it was much easier for her to read memorials and deal with political affairs. Now, Ning Shu was going to take Mu Nisheng's original path and remove Mu Shui from the position of crown prince. Did Mu Nisheng discover something and risk shaking the foundation of the country to remove Mu Shui from the position of crown prince? Did she discover that the soul in Mu Shui's body was a man's soul? The plot didn't give Ning Shu much useful information. In short, this task was not simple. She had naively thought that this task was simple before. Ning Shu felt that his task was getting more and more difficult. Was it his bad luck or the system's intention? During the time when Ning Shu didn't go to the harem, Lu Changqing would occasionally send some tonic soup to Ning Shu. He would tell Ning Shu to pay attention to his body. It was like routine business, which made Ning Shu's balls hurt. Every time he saw the Xiangfei bamboo flute on Lu Changqing's waist, Ning Shu wanted to know the origin of this flute. Lu Changqing seemed to cherish it and carried it with him except when he went to sleep. Ning Shu's heart was itching. He couldn't help but ask, "Phoenix Empress, what is the meaning of this flute?" Lu Changqing took the flute from his waist. Ning Shu said, "This flute was made by Changqing himself." There were mottled marks on the Xiangfei bamboo. It was like a person's tears had dripped onto it. Ning Shu nodded and said, "Phoenix Empress's craftsmanship is good." Lu Changqing pursed his lips. His expression was a bit dark. Ning Shu told him to remember to drink the soup and then left. Ning Shu was confused. Did she say something wrong? Why did it feel like Lu Changqing was angry? Shouldn't she praise the craftsmanship? Should she praise the bamboo for looking good? "Your Majesty, when you and Phoenix Empress were young, you planted a bunch of Xiangfei bamboo," Maid Autumn couldn't help but say. Ning Shu, 0, I see. Chapter 541. Lu Changqing carried the bamboo that he planted with Mu Nisheng. Did it mean that Lu Changqing also had feelings for Mu Nisheng? Damn, it seemed that he had to have less contact with Lu Changqing in the future. They grew up together, so he must know Mu Nisheng very well. Even if he knew the reason why Lu Changqing carried Xiangfei's bamboo flute, Ning Shu still didn't plan to drink the tonic soup Lu Changqing brought over. It was just a kind of intuition. Ning Shu was thinking about how to remove Mu Shui from the position of crown prince. Could he put the Empress dragon robe in Mu Shui's residence like Mu Nisheng? He still felt that it was inappropriate to punish Mu Shui with the crime of rebellion. He had to think of a better way. The method of putting the dragon robe must catch the other party off guard. If the other party was on guard, it would be for nothing. Instead, he would be blamed by the other party. After meeting Mu Shui a few times, Ning Shu felt that the soul in Mu Shui's body was a relatively deep person. This method might not be effective. Ning Shu's head hurt thinking. Mu Shui didn't do anything immoral. Some time ago, she even created punctuation marks, which were beneficial to the country. As long as she didn't do anything excessive, Mu Shui's position as crown prince was stable. Mu Shui basically didn't show up in front of Ning Shu. This made Ning Shu a little unsure of Mu Shui's way of doing things. Last time, Mu Shui proposed to let a man be an official. After being scolded by her, Mu Shui never mentioned this matter again. Obviously, she kept it in her heart. On the other hand, whenever Mu Yao encountered something fun or delicious, she would bring a portion for Ning Shu. She was a filial daughter. Ning Shu looked at Mu Yao's peach blossom face and guessed that she met another handsome man. He asked, "I heard that you've been very close to the son of Prime Minister Yuan recently." "Who's close to him?" "I'm not." Mu Yao's face turned red and she almost jumped up. Ning Shu glanced at her. "If you're not, then you're not. I've heard some rumors in the palace. If you don't like it, then don't do anything and don't ruin the mother's reputation. Otherwise, he can only marry you in the future." Worry appeared on Mu Yao's face. Ning Shu asked, "Will I really ruin his reputation? Why don't I marry him?" Ning Shu was speechless. "Good child, go play somewhere else." Ning Shu originally thought that Mu Yao and Mother June wouldn't get married so quickly, but Mu Yao knelt down with a plop during the morning court the next day, asking Ning Shu to decree the marriage. "Imperial Mother, I want to marry the Origin Lord." Mu Yao spoke bluntly and directly. "Is the mother's is said asked Mu's?" Asked Yao's was the mother to asked Mu. Ning Shu looked at Yuan Jun's mother's expression and knew that Mu Yao did not inform Yuan Jun's mother at all. Prime Minister Yuan pondered in his heart. His Majesty doted on the 4 imperial daughters. Lady Yuan and the 4 imperial daughters could be considered a good home. Prime Minister Yuan understood his son. He was proud and would not bow down to a woman. 4th Princess Huang was a woman with a good temper. "She should be able to tolerate Yuan Jun, it's my honor," said Mu Mu. Ning Shu had only issued an edict to bestow the marriage, allowing Yuan Jun to marry Mu Yao as the principal husband. Ning Shu had no intention of separating the two of them. Mu Shui's son ascended the throne by chance. Ning Shu didn't even let Mu Yao touch the edge of the throne. Mu Shui didn't have the ability to do that. Ning Shu and Mu Mu agreed on the wedding date. Mu Yao was smiling the whole time. She was very happy. Obviously, she liked Mu Shui very much. Ning Shu glanced at the silent Mu Shui and asked, "Crown Princess, do you have a man you like? The position of your official husband is vacant. You should have a man to take care of you." Mu Shui's face stiffened and then returned to normal. If Ning Shu didn't look carefully, he wouldn't be able to see the change in Mu Shui's expression. "I'm not in a hurry. When I have a man I like, then I will ask Imperial Mother to give the marriage decree," Mu Shui said respectfully. Ning Shu nodded. Then he felt a fishy sweetness in his throat. Then hot blood poured into his mouth. His mouth was full of the taste of blood. "Shit. What's going on?" Ning Shu's face changed. In front of the civil and military officials, he could only swallow the blood in his mouth. He waved his hand at Maid Chiu. Maid Chiu immediately said, "Court is dismissed." Ning Shu quickly stood up and walked towards the side chamber. Mu Shui looked at Ning Shu's back deeply. Then she said coldly to Mu Yao, who was in high spirits, "Congratulations to Imperial Sister for getting a beauty." "Thank you, Imperial Sister." Mu Yao smiled very happily. Mu Shui just grinned and didn't say anything. Her eyes were on Mu Yao. When Ning Shu arrived at the side chamber, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Ning Shu didn't know why he suddenly vomited blood. Ning Shu checked his pulse and frowned. His pulse seemed to be normal. "Your Majesty?" Maid Chiu was shocked when she saw Ning Shu vomiting blood. Ning Shu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and chin. "Don't spread the news. Call the imperial physician over." Her symptoms seemed like she was poisoned. Impossible. If she came into contact with the source of the poison, she would have noticed it. Ning Shu only had a superficial understanding of medicine. However, he was more proficient in the art of poison. He didn't expect that he would be poisoned one day. Ning Shu repeatedly checked his pulse. However, it didn't seem like he was poisoned. Could it be that his medical skills were too bad? Damn, being the emperor was really tough. He was always poisoned and there were always unruly people who wanted to harm him. In any case, Ning Shu couldn't figure out how he was poisoned. After the imperial physician arrived, Ning Shu hurriedly had the imperial physician check his pulse. The imperial physician checked for a while before shaking his head. Your Majesty's pulse seems to be poisoned, but it also doesn't seem to be poisoned. The imperial physician used a silver needle to touch the blood that Ning Shu had vomited on the ground. He observed that the needle had changed color. It should be poison. Ning Shu waved his hand to dismiss the imperial physician. He took out the antidote pill he had exchanged for and ate one. He thought that the antidote pill would be enough to cure the poison in his body. However, not long after, Ning Shu vomited blood again. Ning Shu was a bit confused. Why didn't the antidote pill produced by the system work? Ning Shu's hand trembled as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. 2333, what's going on? Ning Shu called out to 2333 in his mind. This situation was a bit strange. Let me scan your body first. 2333 said. Then he remained silent. Ning Shu suppressed his impatience and asked, "What's going on?" "You are poisoned. To be precise, it is a curse. And it is a system product." 2333 said. Ning Shu, what the fuck? This meant that there was another quest taker in this world. And this quest taker had cursed her without her noticing. Is there a way to cure it? Ning Shu asked 2333. 2333 was silent. Ning Shu's heart was cold. If he died, this quest would be considered a failure. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.